Chapter 1802. Two-thirds of the blood spirit flowers on the ground remained. There were at least 1,000 blood spirit flowers. That was to say, the demon blood vulture swallowed more than 500 blood spirit flowers. When Xiaochen thought of this, he could not help being flabbergasted. This demon blood vulture is really trying to stuff me to death. In reality, the demon blood vulture fleeing in the distance was already suffering the consequences. Its huge body was already burning like a flame, its entire body igniting. Its feathers were burnt to a crisp, making it want to cry, but no tears came out. Behind it, there was still a big snake chasing after it. He didn't give it time to digest and absorb the demonic nature in peace. On the small island, Xiaochen frowned slightly. He did not know what to do with such a large number of blood spirit flowers. If he just plucked it off and sold it, he would naturally make a fortune. But wasn't it a bit of a waste to just sell it like this? Could it be that this patch of blood spirit flowers in front of him was the greatest fortuitous encounter he had since coming to the Great Thousand World? If he could absorb all the demonic nature in these blood spirit flowers, there was no doubt that he would be able to do so. Xiaochen could immediately break through to Star Venerate. Once he erupted, he would become extremely terrifying. His only worry was that he had already taken half a step into the demonic Tao. If he absorbed the blood spirit flower before him, there would be no turning back. Now the test for Xiaochen was whether his understanding of the demonic path was right or wrong. The so-called devil was a kind of pride that didn't belong to the heavens. They were wild and unruly, didn't abide by the rules, and would never submit to the heavens. As long as one's heart remained the same, becoming a demon was just a means. This was Xiaochen's understanding. The current demonic path sects were a completely different scene. For the sake of achieving their goals, they would stop at nothing and willfully slaughter the innocent. All they sought was to abandon their hearts and do as they pleased without restraint. One wanted to guard his heart and not change, while the other wanted to exile his heart and allow his desires to grow wildly. They were both devils, and they both disobeyed the rules and refused to submit to the heavens. However, they were completely different. Xiaochen's eyes flickered. A moment later, he made up his mind. He believed in himself, believed that his understanding of the devil was the true intention of the founder of the devil path. Since that was the case, then stepping into the demonic Tao did not conflict with his own heart. There was no need for him to hesitate or fear the power of these blood spirit flowers. Having made up his mind, Xiaochen's eyes instantly became extremely clear and bright, flickering with a faint light. Just as Xiaochen was about to make a move, he raised his eyebrows and quickly retreated from his original position. A large snake jumped out of the blood flowers and landed where Xiaochen had been. Rumble. The entire island shook violently, as if it would collapse at any second. There was even a huge snake. Xiaochen was slightly surprised. If he hadn't dodged fast enough, he would have been crushed to death. The crimson-patterned snake before him was much smaller than the giant snake from before. He didn't know if they were of the same race or if they were descendants. It was truly shocking. The demon blood vulture already lured away a terrifying snake. To think that there was another one lying in ambush on the island. Fortunately, this scarlet-patterned snake's aura was much weaker than the earlier one, only middle-stage Star Venerate. However, it wasn't easy to deal with either. Looking at the blood patterns on its skin, it was unknown just how strong it was and how astonishing its defense was. Seeing that the scarlet-patterned snake was about to attack him, Xiaochen roared ferociously and took the initiative to charge over. Xiaochen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation at full power. He instantly ignited his 8-star primal core, and 2 Tao discs appeared behind him. Veritable essence energy spread out, and lightning flashed and thunder roared. Many terrifying mysterious phenomena appeared in the sky. Saber lights flickered endlessly in the surroundings, turning into saber winds containing Xiaochen's saber intent howling endlessly. Right now, Xiaochen's cultivation was low. When facing such a ferocious beast, he could not hold back at all. Only by using his full power and not holding back could he obtain victory amid danger. With the two great Tao energies driving his veritable essence energy, Xiaochen already reached his limits. At the same time, he circulated the divine dragon body tempering art. Xiaochen's bones crackled, and a layer of dragon might lingered on the surface of his body, forming an invisible divine dragon armor. Breaking vast armies, breaking the stars, breaking the world. Xiaochen used the strongest 3 moves of his army-breaking saber technique. Then, he used supreme might like he was facing a vast army alone. When the saber light chopped out, it first broke the vast armies. Then, it broke the stars, sending out boundless starlight. Finally, the saber light landed. Xiaochen pressed forward courageously, no longer having any obsessions in his heart. Only the tyranny and courage to break the world remained. An ear-piercing metallic sound rang out. Countless bolts of lightning flickered in the sky, accompanied by countless saber chi. The scarlet patterned snake's skin spun continuously, leaving horrifying wounds on it. However, the overwhelming strike of the scarlet patterned snake's demonic might also reached Xiaochen. Bearing the brunt of it, it sent Xiaochen flying. Demonic chi surged in the sky, and the winds and clouds changed color. The black demonic clouds dyed the color of blood. The scarlet patterned snake entered a berserk state. At this moment, it was incredibly enraged. Originally, it thought that its attack, which caught Xiaochen off guard, would definitely shock him to death. Who could have imagined that such an ant-like existence would erupt with such horrifying power, catching everyone off guard? With the support of 2 great Tao energies, the defense that the scarlet patterned snake was so proud of was simply insufficient. The blood that shot out from its body dyed the scarlet patterned demonic clouds red. Xiaochen wiped off the blood at a corner of his lips and revealed a cold smile. It won't be that easy to eat me. Kill. After breaking through the scarlet patterned snake's defense with 1 strike, Xiaochen's confidence soared. He casually formed the 7-kill seal and charged over again. The surging, flood-like killing intent caused the scarlet patterned snake, a ferocious beast that had eaten countless humans, to feel some fear. Boom! 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 1 human and 1 snake started a startling battle. The shocking thing was that the seemingly insignificant human with a much weaker aura was clearly much stronger than the scarlet patterned snake. However, in terms of aura, Xiaochen was far ahead of the scarlet patterned snake, suppressing it in the end. The scariest thing was Xiaochen's killing intent. Several times, the scarlet patterned snake felt fear in its heart, not wanting to clash with such a ruthless person. The scarlet patterned snake wanted to wait for its father to return before dealing with this ruthless person. However, Xiaochen made it stay. After angering Xiaochen, the scarlet patterned snake would not be able to leave as it pleased. Resolving the mundane meant eternity. Go to hell. Xiaochen was like a war god descending from the sky. Then, he sent out an eternal and inextinguishable saber light. The veritable essence energy in his primal core surged towards the saber light in his hand, making that eternal and inextinguishable saber light even more resplendent and dazzling. When Xiaochen executed his strongest saber strike, the saber intent in his body soared into the sky. At this moment, the saber intent scattered a hole in the dense demonic clouds in the sky. Light poured down and bathed Xiaochen in it. Ka-sie. The saber light landed, and the scarlet patterned snake was chopped in half. Its life force immediately vanished. Xiaochen held his saber and knelt on 1 knee, panting softly. After fighting for 4 hours and risking his life, he finally managed to kill this middle-stage star venerate ferocious beast by himself. However, Xiaochen was not in a good state either. His clothes were in tatters. His long hair fluttered about, and there was no place on his body that was unscathed. The scarlet patterned snake's venom had corroded his body into a sorry state. The most horrifying part was his right shoulder. The scarlet patterned snake had bitten off a large chunk, leaving only bare bones. If not for the dragon bones, Xiaochen's bones would have shattered, leaving him half dead on the spot. Xiaochen consumed a medicinal pill for treating injuries that Yi Zifeng had given him. Then, he circulated the divine dragon body tempering art and quickly recovered from his injuries. Although Xiao Chen still had some trump cards, he was in a half-dead state right now. Any random star venerate could take his life. After 15 minutes, Xiao Chen had just recovered from his superficial injuries. Then, he immediately opened his eyes. Although this island was remote, it was not a place where he could rest easy and recuperate. Xiao Chen stood up unsteadily. Then, he took out a snake gall from the scarlet-patterned snake's corpse. The bright red snake gall gave off the same aura as the blood spirit flower. However, it was even denser. This snake gall contained the cultivation essence of this mutated snake. Its value was much higher than that of the blood spirit flower. The remaining snake body was also good stuff and should not be wasted. Xiao Chen cut the snake body into hundreds of pieces and tossed them into his storage ring. Then, he collected the scarlet-patterned snake's skin. After doing all this, Xiao Chen's gaze fell on the many blood spirit flowers. The shock waves from the earlier battle had swept away more than 1,000 blood spirit flowers. Aside from a few that were still intact, the rest were all rotting on the ground. This was quite a pity. However, with the blood spirit snake's snake gall as compensation, it was totally worth it. The huge battle with the scarlet-patterned snake did not change Xiao Chen's resolve. Instead, it strengthened his resolve. I am me. Even if I enter the demonic Tao, Xiao Chen is still that pure and innocent white-robed bladesman whose heart has not changed. Chapter 1803. This time, Xiao Chen was not careless. Now, he had to patrol the island to see if there were any unknown dangers. The island was not big, and Xiao Chen quickly finished patrolling it. There were no other dangerous beasts. The only thing he had to pay attention to was the piles of fish monsters in the lake. However, it seemed like the fish monsters couldn't go ashore. Even if they could, their strength would be greatly reduced. There was no need to worry too much. Xiao Chen walked over to the blood spirit flowers again, deep in thought. More than 700 blood spirit flowers had rotted on the ground. The medicinal effect penetrated deep into the ground and did not completely dissipate. In fact, he could still make good use of it. Suddenly, Xiao Chen recalled that before he arrived, he seemed to have seen several rotten blood spirit flowers on the ground. Over time, who knew how many blood spirit flowers had been buried here? The soil contained even more pure demonic qi than the blood spirit flowers on the surface. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen had an idea. Xiao Chen first picked the remaining 2 handfuls of blood spirit flowers and placed them in his storage ring. Then, he stood on the ground, waiting for Xiao Chen. He immediately set up a spirit gathering formation. A spirit gathering formation for gathering underground demonic qi. Then, he placed blood spirit flowers in the nodes of the formation to replace medial-grade spirit jades. Looking at this imaginative array in front of him, Xiao Chen felt a little crazy. If one was not crazy, one would not become a demon. Since he had already decided to step onto the demonic path, he might as well go crazy for once. The demonic path was completely revealed in his heart. My fate is up to me and not to the heavens. I don't believe in ghosts, gods, or Buddha. After setting up the array formation, Xiao Chen leaped lightly and landed at the eye of the array. With a light tap of his finger, the hundreds of blood spirit flowers in the nodes of the formation burst into flames. The spirit gathering formation instantly activated. Xiao Chen, who was in the center of the formation, immediately felt the burning blood spirit flowers turn into pure demonic qi. Through the spirit gathering formation, the number 8 on all sides continuously poured into Xiao Chen's body. Roar! This was the first time that Xiao Chen had taken the initiative to absorb such a huge amount of devil qi. A certain beast in his heart seemed to have been awakened. A soundless roar came from his body, and his eyes instantly turned pitch black. It was as if there were 2 balls of black demonic flames burning, and a faint black demonic aura flowed on the surface of his body. All kinds of negative emotions gushed out from Xiao Chen's mind. Devil qi was born impure and contained a lot of negative energy, corresponding to the 7 emotions and 6 desires of humans. Many demonic Tao cultivators turned crazy because their negative emotions were amplified by the negative energy of demonic Qi, reaching a state that they could not control. Or he could become a homicidal maniac, killing for fun, killing to survive, and killing to increase his cultivation. Or they were addicted to eating and found joy in eating. They couldn't control their inner appetites and became an extreme foodie. Or he could turn into a Yin demon, and so on. At this moment, this was the first test for Xiao Chen, all kinds of negative emotions. As the demonic Qi continued to be absorbed, it expanded endlessly, turning into all sorts of terrifying obsessions. Xiao Chen's mind was in a mess. Xiao Chen guarded his heart and looked at it coldly, allowing all sorts of thoughts to pass through his heart. To him, this trial was much easier than he had imagined. Xiao Chen's mental state had already reached a horrifying level. Even a sovereign personage might not be stronger than him. Whether it was the desire brought about by the increase in strength, the desire to kill that came with the increase in demonic nature, or the temptation of beauty. None of them had any effect on Xiao Chen. Unknowingly, 2 hours had passed. The 200 blood spirit flowers in the formation were almost all gone. Xiao Chen felt his strength increase explosively. His limbs and bones were filled with explosive power. He felt as if his entire body was about to explode. He had a premonition that he would not be able to hold on for much longer. Just as he was about to stop, the primal core in his body suddenly shone with a golden light. The 9-star essence cores were all lit up. The space inside the Yuan Dan expanded once again, this time by more than 10 times. There were very few cultivators in the world who could condense a 9-star primal core. Those who could light up all 9 stars were even rarer. Even in the Great Thousand Worlds, there were only a few geniuses, outstanding talents, and peerless monsters. But now, Xiao Chen had also done it. Coincidentally, he was also the only one who cultivated the demonic Tao. The primal core was a vessel. Now that the vessel was expanding, Xiao Chen's initial feeling of being on the verge of exploding disappeared. The demonic energy in his body quickly flowed back into his primordial core and condensed into drops of black quintessential essence. In the inner space of the Yuan Dan, there was a continuous black rainstorm. However, compared to the white Jin Yuan inside, the black Jin Yuan was still at a disadvantage. It was far from being able to contend with it. The two quintessential essences naturally repelled each other, unable to tolerate each other. Since the beginning, they had been engaged in an intense battle, each wanting to destroy and devour the other. Even though the black veritable essence energy continuously fell to replenish itself, it still could not fight back. However, it still stubbornly resisted. The two enormous veritable essences turned into dragons. One was a pure true dragon, and the other was a pitch-black demonic dragon. As the two dragons fought, the black demonic dragon was covered with cuts and bruises. It was at a disadvantage. However, the black raindrops continued to fall. The azure true dragon was unable to completely destroy it. However, the blood-colored spirit flowers in the array were completely used up. When the spirit-gathering formation started to absorb the blood-colored demonic qi that had accumulated for a long time, the situation suddenly changed. Overwhelming demonic qi poured into Xiao Chen's body and flowed into his primal core through his meridians. Many demonic clouds formed in the primal core. The demonic clouds covered the sky and instantly suppressed the aura of the true dragon. The demonic dragon took this opportunity to recover its essence. Then, it opened its mouth and sucked in the demonic clouds in the sky. The demonic dragon revealed its ferocious and terrifying side. Now that the situation had reversed, it wanted to devour that pure true dragon. Hence, the second test arrived. If Xiao Chen's original foundation was destroyed and turned into demonic qi, then Xiao Chen would be devoured by the demonic qi. Xiao Chen would lose all intelligence and become a puppet of the demonic qi. The best situation would be when the two were in equilibrium, neither able to do anything to the other. At this moment, Xiao Chen felt somewhat anxious. The demonic qi contained in the ground far surpassed his expectations. The blood spirit flowers bloomed and wilted. After wilting, they bloomed again. This had been going on for many years. After a long time, the accumulated demonic chi had reached a terrifying level. The competition of veritable essence energy in the primal core stemmed from one's nature. Shao Qin could not interfere. Even a wise man would make mistakes at times. No matter how thorough his considerations were, there would be oversights. The second test truly caught Shao Qin off guard. Even his mental state showed some flaws. The negative emotions that had been suppressed started to stir up trouble and appeared once again. I cannot just sit here and wait for death. A swastika appeared on Shao Qian's forehead. Then, a golden Buddhist light suddenly appeared around Shao Qian, who gave off a black light. Shao Qian wanted to use his Buddhist might to suppress and refine the demonic chi. Sweat dripped down Shao Qian's forehead continuously. The demonic chi below was like a bottomless pit. The amount was exceptionally terrifying. Shao Qian's Buddhist might blazed, surging with golden light. However, he still could not suppress the demonic chi. Just as Shao Qian was at his wit's end, he suddenly felt the demonic chi below lessen significantly. 5,000 kilometers away, in the Black Cutlass, Shao Suo was shocked to discover that the Yazi beast demon's soul carved on the back of the formation plate in his hand gave off a faint light. Without killing any magical beasts, the sixth pearl was lighting up bit by bit. Strange. What exactly happened? Shao Suo could not understand. He looked into the distance at the 100,000 great peaks, revealing some worry. Above the island in the center of the lake, at some point in time, a huge demonic cloud whirlpool had already formed, looking exceptionally terrifying. Shao Qin barely avoided the second test. However, the third test came right after. Before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. Shao Qian's primal core was on the verge of exploding. From the outside, it looked like a resplendent clump of light was in Shao Qian's abdomen, looking incredibly dazzling. Even a 9-star primal core could not endure this continuous trembling. A true dragon and a demonic dragon, two conflicting veritable essence energies, added together, formed a terrifying amount. Fear spread in Shao Qian's heart. He had never felt death so close before. When the primal core exploded, no one could escape death. Under normal circumstances, Shao Qin should have broken through to Star Venerate. However, Shao Qin did not dare to do so. If he broke through according to his original plan, he might become the first unlucky fellow in history to have his primal core explode when he advanced to Star Venerate. He would become the laughingstock of history. Right now, the situation was very unstable. Shao Qian's primal core grew increasingly resplendent, but the two vast veritable essence energies remained restless. Even though they could not do anything to each other in this narrow space, no one was willing to submit to the other. Calm down, calm down, calm down, it was like Shao Qin was at the threshold of death. Despite being so close to death, he did not feel anxious or despair. All sorts of thoughts flashed through Shao Qian's mind like lightning filling the sky. All kinds of considerations were rejected by him one by one, and then new ideas kept popping up. I got it. Shao Qin suddenly opened his eyes and took out the Sarira that the Mahasvara Buddha left behind when he passed away. Then, he sighed, Venerable, sorry. Right after speaking, Shao Qin opened his mouth and sucked in the Sarira. The Sarira's gentle Buddhist light flowed down, calming all the irritable energy in Shao Qian's body. Chapter 1804. As the 100-odd demonic Tao sect disciples watched the monk slowly approach Blood Spirit Island, they immediately hesitated. If the shock waves from the clash spread out, they could easily kill a minor primal core venerate. The island was not very large, and when one looked around, there was no sign of life at all. It was a scene of desolation, a wasteland. The true inheritors of a rank 6 sect were probably only second to a holy venerate. The current situation was what Yan Qin hoped to see. The Taiji Dao was sufficient to resolve this problem. Whoosh! This Buddhist sect expert was already as strong as the true inheritors of the two sections. A Buddhist sect expert. There was a small island in ruins in the center of the lake. It was very messy and devoid of life. After passing through the dense forest, the scene before Yan Chen suddenly opened up. Then, he saw a vast lake. However, if Yan Chen wanted to use the Taiji Dao to balance the two veritable essence energies and gently merge them, he still needed some time. The truly capable experts could easily flatten Blood Spirit Island. However, they did not care about the Blood Spirit grass at all. However, just as Yan Chen was about to refine the Sarira giving off a gentle Buddhist light automatically disintegrated. Yan Chen muttered to himself as he walked forward step by step. However, Xiaoqin had expected this long ago. Yan Chen was like a cool breeze that contained an irresistible Buddhist might. As he spoke, he resolved all danger. Instead, Yan Chen's body turned colder, so cold that he trembled. A true inheritor of such a large sect would either become an elder or the successor of the sect master in the future. He would definitely become an overlord of a region. Xiaoqin withdrew his hand and revealed a doubtful expression. At some point in time, a perfect Taiji diagram had appeared under his feet. Anyone below Holy Venerate would die if they went to Blood Spirit Island. Lakeheart Island? Xiaoqin was not in a rush. He had already survived the greatest danger, so there was no need to be anxious now. As Xiaoqin used the Taiji Dao to balance the two vast veritable essence energies in his body, Xiaoqian's eyes lit up. I can't open my eyes. I can't open my eyes. I can't open my eyes. The danger was immediately resolved. Yan Chen closed his eyes and silently circulated his energy. His body immediately sank to the bottom like a rock. A Buddhist light containing boundless beneficence spread out continuously, permeating every inch of his skin, every inch of his bones, and every inch of his flesh. This lake is quiet and clear, and it is very vast. If I hide at the bottom and use the Buddhist sect's turtle breath technique, I might be able to escape this calamity. My sins. My sins. This little monk has nowhere to go. I have no choice but to do such a thing. If I am able to escape, I will definitely send Senior to the afterlife. I have no choice but to do this forbidden land. Thus, this forbidden ground had existed for a very long time. There had always been people from the three great demon sects who went there out of admiration and wanted to challenge it. Damn it! That bald monk is really strong. To think that he could still kill so many people from our two sects even after suffering such severe injuries. The demonic chi that mutated and mutated chi had chi. Could not control. Oh no, he ran in the direction of the forbidden area of the Blood Spirit Island. Flame Qi from sect of Han Qin Spirit Qin. Qi, Shao. 1. And said Blood Qin Mountain sect Spirit Qin, Shin and Star. The so-called chill was formed by the accumulation of these killing intents. This was a great humiliation. When Yan Chen thought of this, he could not help cursing again. The people of the demonic Dao sects were extremely despicable and shameless. How hateful! Yan Chen rejoiced and immediately leaped up. Without even thinking, he silently entered the lake. Yan Chen paled in fright. Without even thinking, he used the last of his veritable essence energy to leap out. However, it was simply too cold, so cold that Yan Chen could no longer endure it. Could it be that this place is where I, Yan Chen, am buried? Soon, this group of demonic Dao sect disciples made up their minds and gave chase. Hateful. Had I known, I would not have listened to that scholar and come here to seek fortuitous encounters. Yan Chen did not understand why the Sarira broke apart on its own. He thought that the Mahasvara Buddha might still have some lingering thoughts in it. Using his benevolent heart, he chose to sacrifice himself at the last moment, helping Xiaoqin survive this calamity. Suddenly, dust flew up, and a terrifying aura erupted from Xiaoqian's body as he threw a palm strike. After him. Boundless beneficence, immeasurable. The seemingly gentle Buddhist light actually contained horrifying energy, condensing all the beneficence that the Mahasvara Buddha cultivated when he was alive. However, Yan Chen, who executed the tortoise breathing technique, could not enter a state of oblivion and unconsciousness. Anyone below Holy Venerate will definitely die if they go to Blood Spirit Island. Even Holy Venerates do not dare to go there casually. Unexpectedly, Yan Qin would fall in such a place, at the hands of two rank 6 demonic Tao sect disciples. The two vast veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's dantian nearly filled up the entire space. The two demonic Tao sects continuously clashed with each other, intensely clashing at every moment, not leaving any gaps. The gentle Buddhist light soothed Xiao Chen's limbs, bones, and internal organs. It was like a feather drifting in the wind. With a slight tremble, it cleared away all the impurities in Xiao Chen's body. Yan Chen opened his eyes and looked around. It would have been fine if he had not looked. The moment he looked, his body trembled even more intensely. Yan Chen kept reminding himself that the moment he opened his eyes, the tortoise breathing technique would be broken, and his only chance of survival would be gone. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and did not think about it in detail. After that, there was no more. Yan Chen used his supreme beneficence to personally modify Xiao Chen's primal core, strengthening it and forming an unbreakable barrier. Yan Chen instantly leaped out of the lake and landed on the island. That place was filled with blood spirit grass that everyone yearned for. However, no one dared to go there, as all those who went had died. Xiao Chen calmed down, knowing that the danger was over. After him. We absolutely cannot let him escape. This was the so-called conquering hardness with softness. Finally, the essence of the Sarira dripped onto the 9-star primal core. Yan Chen sighed softly. He saw a white-clad person sitting cross-legged in a pile of rubble in front. The white-clad person was covered in dust. He did not breathe or show any signs of life. Given my cultivation, how can my physical body fear the cold? Two strands of veritable essence energy intertwined with each other as they surged out from Xiao Chen's hands. Si Xingjie and Xiao Jiansheng were the top core disciples of their respective sections. It was not strange for an additional dead person to appear. Even a regular holy venerate would not be absolutely confident of making them stay. The 1,000-odd fish monsters in the lake slowly approached. Countless pairs of cold eyes carried a cold murderous intent as they looked at Yan Chen. After narrowly escaping death, Yan Chen heaved a long sigh. As he looked at the somewhat strange island before him, he felt somewhat sorrowful. That Buddhist sect expert was called Yan Chen. At this moment, all hope in his heart turned to dust, feeling heavy dissatisfaction. Yan Chen entered deep thought. This place was in ruins, looking like a place where a huge battle had taken place. If he removed the dirt on his face, he would look like a handsome youth. Gurgle. Gurgle. With the two working together, they paid such a heavy price to make that Buddhist sect expert stay. Yan Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. He was already severely injured in the first place. Now, he cried out miserably as his body flew back. Run! Yan Chen shot out like a sharp arrow and dove into the lake, not causing a single splash. There were many figures in the dense forest. The disciples of the Heavenly Eagle Castle and the Fantasy Cloud sect chased after a monk with blood-stained monk robes and a Buddhist monk's Buddhist monk saber. A fish monster leaped out of the water and opened its huge mouth, swallowing Yan Chen up. However, no one knew what this person's cultivation was like when he was alive. Yan Chen raised his Buddhist monk's Buddhist monk saber and walked over casually. To think that he wanted to touch the corpse. Never mind, I should quickly execute the tortoise-breathing art. I do not know when the people behind will catch up. Hey, why is there a dead person here? The demonic Tao sect disciples familiar with the 100,000 Great Peaks all knew that Blood Spirit Island was a forbidden land. Yan Chen immediately felt stunned, unable to react. After refining this Sarira, he would be able to clear this stage. The top two core disciples of the Heavenly Eagle Castle and the Fantasy Cloud sect, Si Xingjie and Xiao Jiansheng, paid a heavy price and barely managed to make that Buddhist sect expert stay. In the water, Yan Chen took a deep breath and felt greatly startled. Why is the lake water so cold? However, just as Yan Chen was about to get within 6 meters of that person, the person that he thought was dead suddenly opened his eyes. Buddha, bless me. It looks like heaven does not want me dead. However, the true challenge to Xiaoqin had just begun. On the other side, the pursuit of that Buddhist sect expert also reached its peak. Under the illumination of this Buddhist light, Xiaoqian's berserk body and his primal core, which could explode at any moment, all calmed down. Chapter 1805. The person he just killed was the Buddhist sect expert that the two sects of the demonic path were pursuing? Xiaoqin was a little confused. Just now, when he closed his eyes to rest and balance the demonic qi quintessential essence and spiritual quintessential essence in his dantian, Xiaoqin was a little confused. He did not let down his guard. After all, the fish might escape, and the blood-patterned snake that had been lured away would definitely return. Letting down his guard was tantamount to courting death. Thus, he had been holding back. Just now, when Yan Chen was within 25 feet of him, Yan Chen's body trembled. When he revealed a dangerous aura, Xiaoqin immediately came to his senses and attacked decisively. Although it was a charged attack, he seemed to be half awake just now, and his condition was obviously not good. Even if his quintessential essence was very strong, its power should not have reached his peak. However, that Buddhist sect expert was sent flying by his palm. He really didn't live up to his name. Calling him an expert was a little too much. However, it didn't matter if he was killed. This monk suddenly attacked him at a critical moment when he was in seclusion. He had nearly caused his cultivation to go berserk and be consigned to eternal damnation. It was not an exaggeration to say that he deserved to die. Looking inside with his divine sense, his primordial core shone resplendently with 9 dazzling stars. After reaching 9 stars, the space within the primal core had already reached a level that many late-stage star venerate experts could only look up to. What was even more terrifying was that this huge space was filled with quintessential essence. There was not even a trace of extra space. At this moment, after Xiaoqian's Taiji Dao smoothed out and balanced it, the two veritable essences, which were originally in primal chaos and fighting endlessly, turned into a Taiji, yin and yang revolving slowly. Success! A smile appeared on Xiaoqian's face. He had successfully absorbed the demon qi that had been accumulated for an unknown number of years on the Blood Spirit Island. Originally, Xiaoqian thought that he could use this opportunity to advance to Star Venerate. However, he felt a little regretful. The situation at that time was urgent, and his primordial core was about to explode at any moment. Trying to break through to Star Venerate now was simply seeking death. He could only use the relic of the great limitless Buddha to forcefully suppress it. Although Xiaoqian had never become a Star Venerate, he had profited from a disaster, reaching a level that he had never imagined. Immortal cultivation and martial cultivation at the same time, Buddhism and demonic cultivation complementing each other. At this moment, his body had been permeated by the Saraira. His limbs, bones, and internal organs were emitting a gentle Buddhist light. His physical body had a Buddha nature. Even a Buddhist monk might not be able to compare to him. However, it just so happened that it had merged with the immemorial demon soul formation not long ago. The Yazi beast, which could be said to be one of the ancestors of the evil Tao, used the terrifying demonic nature of the devil soul array to transform Xiaoqian's physical body during the fusion. As a result, when he cultivated, he was like a wild beast from ancient times, and required a frightening amount of spiritual energy. Under the Buddhist might of the Saraira, the blue dragon bloodline, which had been leaning toward demonization, got rid of this hidden danger. The blue dragon bloodline became pure again, not tainted by any impurities. So. At this time, the disciples of the demonic path and demonic path sects that had fallen some distance behind rushed to the lakeside. Looking at Xiaoqian, who was on the island, he felt quite confused. However, knowing how powerful the fish monster in the lake was, he did not dare to act rashly. Where's the bald donkey? Where's the giant snake at the bottom of the lake? How come it's gone? The blood spirit flower is gone too. Seeing that the blood spirit flowers had disappeared, the disciples of the demonic Tao and demonic Tao sects immediately burst into an uproar. The blood spirit flower held a fatal attraction to demonic path cultivators of their cultivation. For hundreds of years, countless elite disciples of the three demonic path sects had tried to break the taboo that prevented anyone from going to Blood Spirit Island. They worked hard in secret, hoping to one day go to Blood Spirit Island and obtain the blood spirit flower. The more people who failed, the more famous the Blood Spirit Island became. While the island became scarier, it also piqued the interest of those bold people. If it were not dangerous, they would not feel any sense of accomplishment when they easily went to Blood Spirit Island. However, now, these demonic path disciples suddenly discovered that the large swaths of blood spirit flowers had vanished. The originally dense demonic aura had also disappeared. How could the disciples of the demonic sects not be surprised? There's someone over there. It's him. He must be the one who took away the blood spirit flowers. Someone with sharp eyes discovered Xiao Chen in the pile of rubble, which immediately elicited startled cries. Kill him and snatch away the blood spirit flowers. Kill him. Kill him. The demonic path cultivators always did as they pleased. When they saw that Xiao Chen's cultivation was not at the Star Venerate realm, they all leaped up and flew towards the island in the center of the lake. They did not care whether Xiao Chen really had more blood spirit flowers or not. Xiao Chen swept his gaze around, but his expression did not change. He did not see any opponent worth looking forward to. Whoosh! Xiao Chen swept his gaze around, but his expression did not change. He did not see any opponent worth looking forward to. Whoosh! The fish monsters in the lake leaped out one after another. Miserable cries rang out endlessly. Half of the 100-odd disciples of the Heavenly Eagle Castle and the Fantasy Cloud sect died in an instant. The less than 50 people who landed before Xiao Chen were all frightened into breaking out in a cold sweat, feeling very startled. While the gargantuan snake was gone, the fish monsters in the lake were still as mighty as before. In their hot-headedness, the demonic path disciples who ended up in the fish stomachs died a miserable death. Speak! Did someone pluck the blood spirit flowers here? The many demonic path disciples recovered their wits. Relying on their numbers, they immediately shouted questions at Xiao Chen. Kill! What answered them was the tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand. When the tyrant saber was drawn, a saber light illuminated the surroundings. The saber howled like thunder as Xiao Chen moved like lightning, charging into the crowd. Xiao Chen moved like light, his figure nowhere to be seen. When Xiao Chen raised his hand and swung his saber, blood splattered everywhere. Heads flew through the air like carrots. With the help of the Taiji Dao, the two vast veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's Dantian quickly circulated. Light and shadow immediately swirled around Xiao Chen's body. The Taiji Yin-Yang diagram turned into light and shadow, appearing in the surroundings and materializing an invisible energy around him. In this Taiji force field, the air was like viscous water. The demonic path disciples in the water found it difficult to move, their speed completely restricted. The demonic path disciples could not bring out their advantage in numbers. A small number of strong early-stage Star Venerate disciples used Dao tools or killing moves to struggle free with all their might. Before the fear on their faces could fade, a flash of saber light chopped off all signs of life. When Xiao Chen charged into the crowd, he chopped down the demonic path disciples of the two sects like he was chopping vegetables. They could not retaliate at all. At the same time, there was a battered and exhausted figure in the lake. His aura was weak, and he struggled to swim up in the water. After much difficulty, this figure surfaced and took in a breath of fresh air. Then, he saw the scene on the island. This figure paled in fright as he quickly sank back into the water. As he looked at the approaching fish monsters, he wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Clang! Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. Then, he saw the Taiji veritable essence energy diagram spinning in his primal core stop at will, instantly stopping. At the same time, Xiao Chen withdrew his saber Dao and thunder Dao. He stood on the ground and circulated his energy, scattering the excess veritable essence energy and saber Dao energy into the ground. Boom! Xiao Chen's entire body trembled, and dust kicked up. When the dust settled, the ground caved in, revealing an exquisitely carved Taiji diagram, as if it was the work of the gods. The corpses of the two demonic path sect's disciples had been shattered to pieces. Aside from the faint smell of blood, it did not look like an intense massacre had just taken place. "Come out." Xiaoqin stretched out his hand and threw a palm strike. Bang! The lake water exploded, and a figure flew out. 4 fish monsters followed behind. Then, they opened their mouths, trying to divide and devour the figure in the air. 2 lightning dragons flew out from under Xiaoqian's feet. He instantly rescued the person in the air and returned to the island. The 4 fish monsters missed and sank back into the lake. The person that Xiaoqin tossed to the ground coughed violently a few times, continuously vomiting water. "It's you." When Xiaoqin saw that eye-catching bald head, he felt slightly startled. He had personally seen this monk get swallowed up by the fish monsters. To think that this monk did not die. He has some skill. Based on the clues he obtained, Xiaoqin made some deductions and guessed the ins and outs of the situation. This monk was indeed an expert, but he was severely injured. Furthermore, his luck was not good. By the time he arrived, he was already severely injured and weak, unable to withstand a single blow. Just as Xiaoqin thought this, Yan Chen, who was on the ground, suddenly got up and fled. Xiaoqin felt slightly startled, but he did not give chase. There were many fish monsters in the lake. Any one of them could take his life. Xiaoqin did not believe that Yan Chen still had the courage to charge in. Indeed, Yan Chen ran to the lakeside and pretended to jump. However, after a while, he stopped with an embarrassed expression. It looked like the heavens were really going to fall. After escaping from the fish's belly with much difficulty, he still could not escape death. The white-clad cultivator with delicate features was not only terrifyingly strong, but he also had a calm expression. His expression was calm as he slaughtered like he was chopping vegetables. He was even more terrifying than the disciples of the devil's sect. "Little monk, I see that you have delicate features and do not look like an evil monk. Why did you attack me earlier?" Just as Yan Chen felt uncertain, Xiaoqian's voice rang out. Chapter 1806. Ah! When Yan Chen heard Xiaoqian's words, he felt startled. "Turn around and speak properly. I won't kill you." Xiaoqin could not figure out this person. However, this person's eyes were clear and pure. He did not look like an evil monk. Xiaoqin always showed some leniency to the people of the Buddhist sect. Even if the other party was disrespectful to him or harbored evil intentions, Xiaoqin would do his best not to kill them. Yan Chen felt depressed. If he had recovered his strength, he would not be in such an awkward situation. He thought himself clever and fled. In the end, he was blocked by a group of young Yu devils, unable to advance or retreat. He had no choice but to be manipulated. Yan Chen turned around and looked at Xiaoqin. Then, he said honestly, "I did not want to attack you. I just thought that you were dead and wanted to see if you had any medicinal pills for treating injuries. Although I did not have much hope, there was still a chance. How could I have known that you were still alive? You knocked me back with a backhand. I nearly died in the fish belly." Xiaoqin did not say anything when he heard that. He only stretched out his hand and took out the last medicinal pill for treating injuries that Yizifeng left for him. Whoosh! Yan Chen stretched out his hand and caught the medicinal pill that flew over. Then, he looked at Xiaoqin with a confused expression. "What is this? Poison? It does not look like it. A medicinal pill?" However, this person appeared in the 100,000 Great Peaks and attacked so ruthlessly. He was either a pirate or a member of the demonic path. How could he save me? Right now, Yan Chen had a deep prejudice against the people of the demonic path. Just because he was bald, in the end, when he stepped foot on this myriad star mountain, everyone attacked him. This was endless, extremely annoying. Xiaoqin did not want to waste his breath. He directly took out the Buddhist sect golden letter that the Venerable Xian Bei gave him. "Do you recognize this?" A gift from the water. This startled Yan Chen. As he looked at Xiao Chen, he felt even more shocked. Practically every Buddhist sect disciple recognized such a golden letter. Only those who owed the Buddhist sect a great debt of gratitude would receive this gift. As long as one saw the golden letter, regardless of their status, they would have to repay the debt of gratitude. The golden letter was made of ordinary divine materials. The scriptures on it were the Kasyapa scriptures. This was the first and last scripture that the Kasyapa Buddha left behind in the world after attaining enlightenment. In Buddhism, only the abbot of the 4 great sacred grounds had the ability to copy this scripture. Others did not have enough Buddha nature. At most, they could barely comprehend it, even if they could understand it. However, once he tried to copy it, he would discover that he did not know where to start and had completely forgotten everything. Therefore, this golden book was extremely precious. It had always been regarded as the highest gift in the Buddhist sect, given to those who had done the Buddhist sect a favor. How could you possibly receive the golden letter? Yan Chen did not dare to believe it. As he received the golden book, his hands trembled slightly. Since Xiao Chen gave away the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique saber manual, he naturally deserved this gift. However, there was no need to tell Yan Chen the reason. After verifying that the golden letter was real, Yan Chen no longer worried. Then, he swallowed the medicinal pill that Xiao Chen gave him. Before Zhang Xian could completely refine it, he felt his injuries stabilizing, no longer worsening. Yan Chen could not help revealing a smile. What an incredible medicinal pill. With my strength, I should be able to recover completely in another 6 or 7 days. 6 or 7 days. When Xiao Chen heard that, he revealed a strange expression. What kind of injuries were they for them to be so severe? The medicinal pill that senior brother Yi Zifeng gave him was extremely precious. Even when he was on the verge of death, he did not need so long to recover. Yan Chen sighed and said, the demonic Dao sects have too many tricks up their sleeves. I can only blame myself for being careless. When I saw that the 2 were only middle-stage star venerates, their demonic might was not strong. That's why my soul got injured and my physical body nearly turned into mush. When Xiao Chen heard that, he gave Yan Chen a strange look. Is there a need to brag like that? Although I respect you as an expert, there is no need to speak as though middle-stage star venerates are nothing. Although Xiao Chen thought that, he did not care too much. He just listened quietly. Boom! Just at this moment, a strong demonic might accompanied by a will of soul suddenly surged over. Yan Chen vomited a mouthful of blood and cried out miserably as he went flying back like a sandbag. Xiao Chen used 2 kinds of Dao might to support himself at the same time before he barely managed to block with his will of soul. As he looked into the distance, his expression changed slightly. That's not good. That gargantuan snake that rivaled a holy venerate is charging back. I have to retreat quickly. Xiao Chen did not dare to imagine how enraged the gargantuan snake would be when it discovered that its offspring were killed, the blood spirit flowers plundered, and the demonic qi in its lair gone. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he grabbed Yan Chen, who had not landed yet. Then, he stood on a lightning dragon, and his entire body gave off a resplendent electric light. Xiao Chen flew far away at lightning speed, not daring to linger. Bang! 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 Even though Xiao Chen had already fled far away, he still felt an overwhelming demonic might erupt in the direction of Blood Spirit Island. Even from far away, Xiao Chen could vaguely see a strand of black qi made up of killing intent soaring into the clouds. Are you alright? Xiao Chen asked worriedly after they fled far away. Then, he put down the pale-faced Yan Chen. Yan Chen's injuries had just recovered a little when the demonic might and will of soul struck him, worsening his injuries. Yan Chen vomited a mouthful of blood and smiled bitterly. I'm fine. I'm used to it. My master said that the moment I was born, I used up all my luck. I have to spend my entire life with bad luck. I'm really used to it. There is such a thing. Xiao Chen had never heard of it before. However, your injuries, it's fine. It's just that the recovery of my strength will be delayed for a while. I won't die. Yan Qin stopped speaking and sat down cross-legged to rest. Xiaochen rubbed his chin, wondering if he had forgotten something. That's right, where did the demon blood vulture go? Xiaochen only saw the gargantuan snake but not the demon blood vulture that lured it away. Speaking of which, the demon blood vulture was rather capable. To think that it could lure the scarlet pattern snake away for so long. This greatly surpassed Xiaochen's expectations. Now, it is nowhere to be seen. Could it have been eaten by the gargantuan snake? That's not right. The demon blood vulture had absorbed the demonic qi that leaked out of the immemorial demon soul formation. Xiaochen vaguely sensed that it was still alive. Far away, above the ash-gray sea, the demon blood vulture flew close to the surface of the sea. It screeched loudly, feeling extremely excited. The demon blood vulture had barely survived the pursuit of the scarlet pattern snake. At the crucial moment, the demon blood vulture managed to refine all the demonic qi it absorbed in one go. His bloodline mutated, and a golden line appeared in the center of each of the 9 scarlet tail feathers on his tail. Among the blood-covered feathers, the 9 strands of golden threads were especially eye-catching. A faint golden light also appeared in the demon blood vulture's bloodshot eyes. Ha ha ha! To think that it mutated. This great me is going back to fight for the Blood Vulture King's successor. This great me is going to become the Blood Vulture King. When this great me becomes the Blood Vulture King, I will definitely return and teach that grandson a lesson. To think that he dared to use this great me as bait. This great me will definitely take revenge. If I do not take revenge, I will not be a bird. It turned out that this demon blood vulture suddenly obtained great benefits and no longer cared about Xiaochen, its financial backer. It was preparing to return to its race to fight for the Blood Vulture King's successor. Chapter 1807. Xiaochen was still worried about the demon blood vulture. However, he did not know that the demon blood vulture was thinking about how to kill him after it returned. The demon blood vulture was truly thoughtless and brainless. At this moment, Xiaochen felt somewhat bored. The monk Yan Chen was currently recuperating. His cultivation had reached consummation and could advance to star venerate at any time, so he could not cultivate. However, Yan Chen could not abandon this monk and search for fortuitous encounters in the 100,000 Great Peaks alone. It would be good to find a ferocious beast or a demonic Dao cultivator to gain some combat experience. Unfortunately, the Great Peaks were dangerous. In the monk's current state, he might die if he got careless. Clang! Xiaochen drew the tyrant saber and casually brandished it, sending out saber lights. He did not focus on practicing any saber techniques. He only wanted his saber technique to be more compatible with his newly comprehended Thunder Dragon steps. With Xiaochen's current cultivation, even the casual moves he executed were indescribably wondrous. If other bladesmen were here, they would definitely stop and watch, comprehending it properly. Although Xiaochen had not reached a level where a casual saber strike contained a boundless great Dao, he had many tricks up his sleeves. However, there were many tricks to it. In the blink of an eye, it seemed to be full of flaws. However, if one looked carefully, one would be horrified to discover that the so-called openings were all variations. If one fell for them, one would face a torrential counterattack in the next moment. Slowly, Xiaochen became more excited. His saber technique and Thunder Dragon steps became increasingly compatible. The lightning dragons under Xiaochen's feet coiled around his body. He moved left and right, so fast that Xiaochen's figure could not be seen. After comprehending the Thunder Great Dao, the Thunder Dragon steps gained new life. The more he practiced, the more he felt its boundless potential. He infused his Thunder Great Dao energy with his veritable essence energy and filled his entire body. Xiaochen shouted, "Thunder Dragon burst!" Whoosh! Electric light flashed. In the next moment, Xiaochen looked like he teleported, appearing on a mountain 50 kilometers away. 50 kilometers was not too far. However, what was strong was speed. Xiaochen traveled 50 kilometers in half the blink of an eye. The energy he exhausted was just one breath of veritable essence energy and a strand of great Tao energy. After resting for a while, he could use it again. Wonderful. On the top of the mountain, Shao Qin made the remnant great Tao energy explode again. Then, he returned to Yan Chen's side. What if I split the Thunder Dragon explosion into 9 parts, reducing the distance of 100 miles to 100 meters? When Shao Qin learned something, he would always draw inferences about other cases from one instance and think from many aspects. Thunder Dragon explosion was suitable for retreating and chasing after enemies. However, it could not be used in battle. In battle, short swords clashed, and it happened in the space of an inch. If you ran 100 li away, you obviously wouldn't be able to end the battle. However, if the range was reduced to 100 meters and this mouthful of veritable essence energy and strand of great Tao energy exploded 9 times in an instant, it would be very different. Thinking about it, in these 9 moments, he had attacked 9 times, each time he attacked 9 times. In the blink of an eye, 81 bloody holes appeared on his opponent's body. He was simply too strong. He was able to unleash his strength beyond his normal limits. Why was it that some people's cultivation realms, martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and Tao tools were all the same, but when they fought, their combat prowess differed greatly? This was because some people could only bring out half of their strength. However, others could bring out 60%, 70%, or 80%, perfectly. They could even display extraordinary strength, making use of every opportunity they had to bring out combat prowess that far surpassed their cultivation. There was another kind of heaven-defying existence. They could double, triple, or even 10 times their strength. Shao Qin had only read about such heaven-defying demonic geniuses in ancient records and did not believe it. In reality, those who could perform beyond their normal limits were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns, an existence that was 1 in a million. Shao Qin acted when he thought of it. Comprehending the Thunder Great Tao gave Shao Qin an unparalleled advantage over others in his control of lightning-attributed energy. But even so, his first attempt had left him in a sorry state. Several times, he failed to perfectly unleash his veritable essence energy. In the end, his body exploded. This was even worse than self-mutilation. Feeling both pain and happiness, Shao Qin finally succeeded in executing it after 1 hour. Electric light flashed. Shao Qin drew his saber and sheathed it. Clang! 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 After Shao Qin completed the motions, saber hums rang out endlessly in the air, a total of 81 saber strikes. The sounds were very pleasing to the ear, like the most beautiful zither music in the world. I'll call you Thunder Dragon 9 transformations, then. Shao Qin revealed joy on his face. Then, he drew his saber again, casually brandishing it and displaying his various comprehensions. In ancient times, musicians used zither music and flute music to express their emotions. At this moment, the saber in Shao Qin's hand was the zither in his hand. Shao Qin displayed the joy of comprehending the Thunder Dragon 9 transformations. The saber light flickered, and the saber light he sent out was very pleasing to the eye and joyful. Suddenly, Shao Qin recalled his interactions with Lu Riyue in Qingyun Peak. Shao Qian's saber light turned gentle like water, full of tenderness and sweetness. The saber light changed again. Shao Qin thought of the Kunlun realm's demonic calamity. He thought of Diwuk and Yen Shisan, who sacrificed themselves for the demonic calamity. Shao Qin thought of the cyclic astral master sacrificing himself for a benevolent cause. Then, his saber became filled with grief and boundless heroism. Practicing the saber. Just at this moment, a voice interrupted Shao Qian's thoughts. Shao Qin sheathed his saber and turned around to look in confusion. He saw Yan Qin looking at him with an unfathomable expression, revealing a smile on his face. That smile contained some appreciation and some disdain. There was also a trace of pride and a hidden wildness. In any case, it was something that ordinary people could not do. Isn't that obvious? If he does not practice the saber, could he be practicing the sword? Wait, that's not right. After thinking about it carefully and looking at Yan Chen's expression, Xiaoqin suddenly understood. Yan Chen's mysterious and unfathomable expression was clearly saying, what a coincidence. I also practice the saber. Furthermore, I am extraordinarily powerful. I was just waiting for you to ask me about it. After that, I will take the opportunity to show you how strong my saber techniques are. Understanding Yan Chen's intentions, Xiaoqin smiled and asked, what's wrong? Little monk, are you a bladesman as well? Indeed, Yan Chen smiled in satisfaction. That's right. This little monk's dharma name is Yan Chen. However, others prefer to address me as. Hey, I think it's best not to mention other people's titles. I'll show you my saber techniques, then. Yan Chen took out a Buddhist monk's saber and soared into the air. His aura immediately changed. Xiaoqin showed a grave expression. Just as he was about to taste it carefully, Yan Chen, who was flying halfway, vomited a mouthful of blood and fell face first to the ground. Yan Chen coughed a few times and stood up in embarrassment. This saber technique of mine is too tyrannical and ferocious. When I attack, I need to use my soul energy and drive my veritable essence energy at full power, drawing on the energy of everything in the world. I forgot that I am still injured. Next time. Xiaoqin could not help smiling. This little monk was indeed too arrogant. Fortunately, Yan Chen had delicate features, was young, and had a pure nature. His habit of bragging was rather cute on him, and not annoying at all. As for the next time, there was no need. Xiaoqin interrupted the other party, stop speaking. Little monk, you'd best recuperate properly. Yan Chen felt very depressed and embarrassed. Why am I so unlucky? Based on Brother Xiao's expression, he clearly does not believe me. Big Brother Xiao, don't doubt me. I'm speaking the truth. I'm really very strong. I, Yan Chen, am known as what? When Xiaoqin mentioned his nickname, Yan Chen felt embarrassed again. Then, he quickly changed the topic. There is no need to care about that. In any case, I am really very strong. When there is an opportunity, I will definitely show Big Brother Xiao. The more Xiaoqin spoke, the more anxious he became. Sweat dripped off his forehead, and his complexion paled. Yan Chen probably used too much force earlier and injured himself. Afraid that something would happen to Yan Chen, Xiaoqin could only agree to stop Yan Chen from speaking. Yan Chen wanted to cry, but no tears came out. How could he not tell that Xiaoqin did not believe him at all? Xiaoqin was only asking him to recuperate out of kindness. Why am I so unlucky? I am just playing with a saber. Yan Chen finally stopped after much difficulty. When he saw Yan Chen close his eyes, Xiaoqin heaved a sigh of relief. After a long time, the surroundings fell silent. Then, Yan Chen opened his eyes and looked seriously at Xiaoqin. Big Brother Xiao. Xiaoqin asked, finding this strange, what's the matter? Do you think that I failed to show off and ended up acting like a fool? Actually, I really am not. Pfft, Xiaoqin simply could not hold back his laughter. However, he also felt somewhat helpless. How conflicted is this little monk? Even after half a day, he still has not forgotten about this. Boom! Just as Xiaoqin was about to answer, a demonic light suddenly appeared in the distance and soared into the clouds, scattering the dense demonic clouds for 5 kilometers around. This is an inherited Dao tool appearing. Xiaoqian's expression changed slightly as he suddenly stood up. A flourishing demonic Dao sect, the Myriad Holy Church, once existed in the 100,000 Great Peaks. Occasionally, people would discover inherited Dao tools and Dao tools left behind by the Myriad Holy Church. The so-called inherited Dao tools referred to peak Dao tools that had been passed down by several generations of experts, just like the tyrant saber in Xiaoqian's hand. Each time one appeared, it would kick up a bloody storm. Chapter 1808. It was just like back then, when the tyrant saber appeared, it caused a huge commotion in the entire fiendish demon battlefield. Now, another inherited Tao tool appeared. Naturally, there would be a fight. What strong demonic qi? This is a mysterious phenomenon that can only materialize when there is an inherited Tao tool. The little monk Yan Chen clicked his tongue as he walked over to Xiao Chen's side. I'll go and take a look. You stay here and treat your injuries. After saying that, Xiao Chen looked in the direction of the surging demonic qi. Xiao Chen did not lack inherited Tao tools. The tyrant saber in his hand was already good enough. He just wanted to see how big of a storm this inherited Tao tool would cause and how many fish it would attract. The 10 great peaks were vast. The disciples of the 3 demonic Tao sects and the foreign cultivators were like fish in water. Even if a person did not purposely hide, finding them would be as difficult as ascending to heaven. To Xiao Chen, the main purpose of experiential training in the 100,000 great peaks was to figure out the strength of the 3 demonic Tao sections. Furthermore, he wanted to know how many more experts were hiding in the dark, waiting for the nightless mysterious phenomenon that would arrive soon. Right now, everything was just a small skirmish. Xiao Chen kept his thoughts on the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasures. It wouldn't be long before the nightless phenomenon would appear. Xiao Chen had to figure out his competitor's strength. He needed to know himself and his enemy. There was no doubt that this was a very good opportunity. Xiao Chen had the best say on how strong an inherited Tao tool was. Without the tyrant saber, he would not have comprehended the Thunder Great Tao so quickly. Without the tyrant saber, he would not have been able to hold out for long when he fought with Star Venerates. With the tyrant saber's support, Xiao Chen had the strength to fight Star Venerates as a major primal core Venerate. By activating 50% of the tyrant saber's might, he could knock back a middle-stage Star Venerate. Xiao Chen had not activated the tyrant saber's full might yet. However, he could imagine how horrifying it would be. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's cultivation was relatively low. If it were some other Star Venerate with a higher cultivation, the inherited Tao tool would be even stronger in their hands. Xiao Chen could predict that the appearance of this inherited Tao tool would attract many people to fight over it. By attracting all the experts training in other places, Xiao Chen could successfully achieve his goal. Xiao xiao xiao. Half a quarter of an hour later, Xiao Chen landed on a relatively secluded solitary peak. 100 miles below, a small hill had been broken open, and the surging demon qi was coming from it. He looked at the outskirts of the hill. There were 2 demonic Tao cultivators fighting intensely. Xiao Chen observed for a while. It seemed like the opening on the hillside was accidentally opened by the shockwaves from their battle. When the 2 of them saw the monstrous devil qi, they were clearly startled. What followed was ecstasy, and then an even more bitter battle. Both of them wanted to quickly finish off the other party, seize the Tao artifact, and quickly leave. But the more impatient he was, the more he couldn't end the battle quickly. Xiao Chen had already sensed that there were many experts hiding in secret places just like him. He looked at the 2 of them coldly, not anxious at all. The 2 people closest to the inherited Tao tool were merely early-stage Star Venerates. No matter how much trouble they caused, they wouldn't be able to cause any waves. Clearly, the people hiding in the dark were smart. They knew that it would not be good for anyone to stick their head out at this moment. Everyone was waiting for the moment when the inherited Tao tool truly appeared. The show was far from starting. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and rested, quietly waiting for the inherited Tao tool to break free and soar into the clouds. After a while, the 2 demonic Tao cultivators fighting on the hill started to feel that something was wrong. After exchanging a move, they quickly fled far away. If they still did not leave, when the Tao tool appeared, they would be the first to die. It could only be said that these 2 were not stupid. Hence, a strange scene appeared in this place. The demonic qi coming from the hill was clearly becoming more startling. The various mysterious phenomena were even more terrifying. However, the surroundings grew increasingly quiet. In the end, there was practically no sound at all. The calm before the storm made everyone feel strangely nervous. I wonder what will fly out. The little monk Yan Chen's voice suddenly rang out beside Xiao Chen, startling him to his senses. "Why are you following me?" Xiao Chen asked with a slight frown, somewhat blaming Yan Chen. Yan Chen smiled abashedly and said, "Big brother Xiao, please don't blame me. I'm just taking a look. I am a person who naturally likes to watch crowds. When I stay in the temple, I like to sneak down the mountain. I can't stand the loneliness." Xiao Chen smiled bitterly, feeling speechless. He wondered which temple this little monk came from for him to raise such a weirdo. "In that case, just watch. Don't cause trouble for me." When Yan Chen heard that, he laughed softly, "Hee hee. Don't worry. I never cause trouble." There was something else that Yan Chen did not say. Indeed, he never sought trouble. It was always trouble seeking him out. However, there should not be any trouble this time. "I will just watch from afar." Yan Chen smiled uncertainly in his heart. Suddenly, at this moment, countless terrible wails erupted from the hill, and those wails were like the roar of mountains and the roar of tsunamis. Resentment surged into the heavens, causing one's hair to stand on end. The demonic Tao cultivators hiding in the dark could not help trembling in excitement. Based on these sounds, who knew how many resentful spirits were refined in that inherited Tao tool? There were at least 1,000,000 resentful spirits. Furthermore, they were not ordinary resentful spirits. Otherwise, the sound would not be so sharp and piercing, reaching deep into the soul. Rumble. Suddenly, several terrifying bolts of lightning appeared in the sky, shattering the demonic clouds. It was like the heavenly Tao did not tolerate the birth of such a sinful Tao tool. Heavenly lightning. To think that it is an inherited Tao tool that can stir up heavenly lightning. This is incredible. This inherited Tao tool must be extraordinary. The success rate of refining an inherited Tao tool that can stir up heavenly lightning is frighteningly low. It is too easy for the heavenly lightning to damage it. The former myriad Holy Church truly lives up to being a great demonic Tao sect. This mysterious phenomenon immediately caused a commotion. Many demonic Tao cultivators started discussing it in soft voices. Several heavenly lightning descended. However, the demonic chi blocked them all, preventing them from landing on the inherited Tao tool. As Xiao Chen looked at the lightning in the sky, he felt astonished. This inherited Tao tool that was about to appear was probably several levels higher than the Ghost Dragon Pennant. If it fell into the hands of the Devil Sect's martial artists, their strength would increase greatly. Soon, he would be able to add a formidable opponent to his list. Should he take the risk and snatch this inherited Tao artifact back? This thought only appeared for a moment before Xiao Chen rejected it. A strong dragon cannot suppress a local snake. He was alone in this place. Taking the risk to snatch this inherited Tao artifact was not rational. The risk was too great. Moreover, now was not the time to fight with their lives on the line. Before the nightless phenomenon occurred, it would be best for him not to attract anyone's attention. That's right, I'll just watch from afar. This way, the enemy will be in the light while I'm in the dark. The more I understand, the better it will be for me. Based on his experience, he would not be able to unleash the full might of an inherited Tao artifact within a short period of time. Gia. The inheritance within the mound emitted a strange laughter that caused one's heart to palpitate. It was as if it was filled with disdain towards the heavens, arrogant beyond compare. The heavenly lightning became even more terrifying, but it was still unable to blast into the hill and damage the inherited Tao artifact. Just when everyone thought that the inherited Tao tool would be born smoothly, a voice suddenly rang out. Suddenly, an intense light appeared in the air, dazzling everyone's eyes. Caught off guard, nearly everyone, including Xiao Chen, felt pain in their eyes. Boom! Following that, there was an intense explosion. The mound instantly flattened, kicking up dust and covering the sky. The miserable cries of countless aggrieved spirits rang out, rising and falling. The originally fearless demonic chi that soared into the sky broke in half and scattered with the wind. The heavenly lightning injured the inherited Tao tool. Indeed, a scarlet demonic mirror in the air flickered with a fiery black light as it quickly headed in a certain direction. The black demonic light made one feel uneasy. However, one could clearly sense that the light was weak. That final heavenly lightning did indeed injure this inherited Tao tool that stirred up the winds and clouds. Xiaochen opened his eyes, which were pierced by the light. He felt that something was wrong, and his expression changed dramatically in the next moment. Whoosh! The demonic mirror vanished. Xiaochen turned his head to look at Yan Chen, who was beside him. Then, he said through clenched teeth, "Little monk, can you explain how this inherited Tao tool ended up in your hands?" Chapter 1809. Yan Chen was truly depressed to the extreme. He was just watching the show. Who did he offend? The inherited Tao tool actually flew into Yan Chen's hand on its own. Yan Chen did not need this demonic Tao tool. It was just a problem in his hands. "Big brother Xiao, I'll give it to you." Yan Chen stretched out his hand and tossed the demonic mirror to Xiaochen. When the black demonic flame on the scarlet demonic mirror touched Yan Chen's body, it immediately started burning fiercely. The black demonic flame immediately soared into the clouds, covering Yan Chen's entire body. Demonic might surged into the sky. The mountain under Yan Chen's feet shook slightly, and countless rocks tumbled down. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly as he quickly dodged to the side. Boom! A beam of black light shot out from the demonic mirror, and a few miserable cries rang out. Xiao Chen turned his head to look. It turned out that some of the faster demonic Tao cultivators had already charged over and happened to get pierced by the black light. Without exception, all the demonic Tao cultivators that got pierced by the black light had a large hole burned in their chests. The black flame continued to burn along the wounds. The flesh festered, giving off an unpleasant smell. It was a ghastly sight, one that one could not bear to look at. Xiao Chen's lips twitched. If this hit him, he would have died. He turned his head to look at Yan Chen and smiled embarrassedly. "Little monk, looking at your delicate features, thick eyebrows, and large eyes, I really could not tell. You really hid yourself deeply. Benefactor Xiao, young master Xiao, big brother Xiao, I. Yan Chen was startled by this scene as well. He was so nervous that he stuttered. There was simply no way to explain it. "I what?" "Quickly put it away. It's time to run." Xiao Chen carried Yan Chen and executed the Thunder Dragon Burst. Then, his figure flashed, disappearing 50 kilometers away. It's the netherworld filthy flame. When the others saw the demonic Tao cultivators pierced by the black light, their eyes lit up with joy. Ha ha ha! After him. The difficulty of refining the netherworld filthy flame is very high. It truly lives up to being an inherited Tao tool. Even the heavenly lightning does not allow it to exist. Whoosh! Looking at the direction in which Xiaochen fled, a group of demonic path elites madly chased after him. Although Xiaochen had the upper hand in terms of speed, he was unable to shake off the group of people behind him as he was carrying a person in his hands. "Stop running. Little bald donkey, we meet again." Boom! Suddenly, a clump of demonic clouds descended in front of them. The demonic clouds surged, and the illusory cloud sext Xiao Jiansheng appeared. "It's you." When Yan Chen saw this person, he immediately flew into a rage. "You despicable bastard! How dare you plot against me? When my strength recovers, I will definitely cut you into pieces." "Ha ha ha, thank you for the compliment. However, I'm surprised that a monk like you would have such a strong killing intent." Although Xiao Jiansheng was talking to Yan Chen, his gaze remained fixed on Xiao Chen. The injured Yan Chen was not a strong opponent in Xiao Chen's eyes. The one he could not figure out was the person beside Yan Chen. His cultivation was not high, but he could sense a dangerous aura coming from Xiao Chen. "Xiao Jiansheng, your speed is truly fast." "Xiao." Xiao Chen saw a vast might surging over, carrying the might of all things in the world. Xiao Chen did not see any wind, but he felt a huge pressure. This feeling was very familiar. It was someone from the Heavenly Eagle Castle. The person who arrived was Si Shengjie. He leaped down from the Heavenly Thunder Eagle and happened to block off Xiao Chen's other path of escape. Si Shengjie, same here. Xiao Jianqing laughed in a strange manner. There was only one inherited Dao tool. It was hard to avoid competition between the two. Little bald donkey, I let you run last time. Let's see where you can run to this time. Today, I will take revenge for my younger brother. I will eat you to vent the hatred in my heart. Whoosh! Si Shengjie did not think too much at all. He leaped into the air and hacked at Yan Chen with his axe. Everything in the world, the flowers, the trees, the earth, the sky, the demonic clouds, seemed to have their life force sucked out. The life force gathered on Si Shengjie's body as he leaped over in the air. His aura soared. Just as he was about to land, Xiao Chen and Yan Chen felt pressured to the point of breathlessness. This person was at least twice as strong as that Heavenly Eagle Castle core disciple, Si Hongyi, whom Xiao Chen killed. Seeing that this axe was about to hack Yan Chen into pieces, Xiao Chen stepped forward and stretched out his hand. Then, he caught the axe with 2 fingers. Using the body as a cauldron to communicate with the world, gathering all the energy in his body to stabilize space. This was Xiao Chen's secret technique, the sharp spirit finger. Go back. Xiao Chen's fingers loosened slightly. The veritable essence energy, great Tao energy, and vital qi gathered by the sharp spirit finger suddenly exploded out. Bang! Si Shengjie, who was charging over with a ferocious aura, got knocked back. As soon as he landed on the ground, he felt the blood and qi in his body churning violently. Not only did the axe get pushed back by the other party, but it also added in Xiao Chen's energy, causing him to stumble. Xiao Jianqing's eyelids twitched. Earlier, he was regretting letting this Si Shengjie get ahead of him. Now, he thought to himself, what a close call. Fortunately, this big fellow helped me test out this white-clad brat's limits. Xiao Chen was mysterious and could not be underestimated. Whoosh! 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 More demonic Dao cultivators landed in the surroundings. When they saw this scene from the air, they were all startled. Unexpectedly, the Heavenly Eagle Castle's strongest disciple, Si Shengjie, got knocked back with 2 fingers. Damn! What terrifying strength! To think that he managed to catch Si Shengjie's strong strike with 2 simple fingers. This is truly incredible. Even the true inheritors of the 3 great demonic Dao sects cannot do that so easily. Don't underestimate him. This is clearly a secret technique. There are many tricks to it. Where did this white-clad youth come from? I have never heard of him before. Is he here for the nightless mysterious phenomenon? Upon seeing the earlier scene, the many demonic Dao cultivators, the pirates of the Starlight Sea, and some loose cultivators who rushed over did not dare to act rashly. Xiao Chen looked around, feeling somewhat disappointed. The strongest people here were mostly people of Xiao Jianqing's and Si Shengjie's level. Not a single true inheritor of the 3 great demonic Dao sects appeared. There was also not a single peak late-stage star venerate expert. It looked like the nightless mysterious phenomenon would not appear. The true experts would not show up. They could only wait until the nightless sky shone with eternal starlight and cleared away the demonic clouds. Only the core peak of the myriad star mountain could be entered. At that time, it would be a true fight. Right now, everyone was making their final preparations. Whoever showed up would expose more of their strength. No one would be so foolish as to be in closed-door cultivation, only letting their disciples fight on a small scale. Even if an inherited Dao tool appeared, they would not know. After learning the reason, Xiao Chen felt somewhat disappointed. Never mind. Since I already exposed my strength, there is no need to hide it. It would be good to take this opportunity to collect this inherited Dao tool, lest it fall into the hands of other demonic Dao experts. Brat, where are you from? Si Shengjie asked sullenly as he glared at Xiao Chen. After the earlier lesson, Si Shengjie no longer dared to act rashly. Although demonic Tao cultivators were lawless and fearless, they always respected the strong. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Whoever had the bigger fist was in the right. You are not qualified to know where I come from. Thunder Dragon 9 Transformations. Shao Chen attacked at the drop of a hat, not giving any warning at all. In the blink of an eye, everyone only saw Shao Chen draw his saber before sheathing it. Before the crowd could understand what happened, 81 intense saber lights shot out of Xi Shengjie's body. Then, he fell to the ground and died amid a miserable shriek. The onlookers broke out in a cold sweat. As they looked at Shao Chen, they felt their hair stand on end, and they all retreated. Let's go. Shao Chen remained expressionless as he soared into the air while carrying Yan Chen, leaving behind a group of people exchanging glances. When the others saw Xi Shengjie's body riddled with saber wounds, they did not dare to give chase. A suspicious look flashed in Xiao Jianqing's eyes. He took a few steps and arrived before Xi Shengjie's corpse. After checking, Xiao Jianqing's expression changed slightly. He raised his head to look in the direction Shao Chen had taken and cursed, "I got tricked by him. This fellow is not that strong at all." Xi Shengjie's death was entirely due to carelessness. Earlier, Xiao Jianqing suffered a disadvantage when Shao Chen's sharp spirit finger broke his demonic cultivation technique. He had not expected Shao Chen to attack at the drop of a hat. Before Xiao Jianqing could execute his demonic cultivation technique, Shao Chen used a quick attack to kill him in one breath. If it were a normal exchange, Shao Chen's saber light would not have been able to pierce through Xi Shengjie's physical body. At most, it would have severely injured Xi Shengjie. It would not have reached the horrifying effect of instantly killing him. As long as Shao Chen did not have the strength to instantly kill Xi Shengjie, with so many people here, he would not be a match for him at all. If Shao Chen were really that strong, he would not have needed to leave immediately after killing Xi Shengjie. Xiao Jianqing stood up and chased after Shao Chen. However, Shao Chen was already far away. How could Xiao Jianqing catch up? Chapter 18:10. That was close. After escaping a calamity, Shao Chen put down Yan Chen and heaved a sigh of relief. After Yan Chen landed, he looked seriously at Shao Chen and said, "Big brother Shao, you practiced your saber technique in the wrong direction." In the blink of an eye, he unleashed 81 slashes, and each slash came from a different direction, but the power is really too scattered. That was only natural. Even without Yan Chen saying it, Shao Chen understood. It would be strange if Shao Chen could send out so many saber lights in the blink of an eye and still be able to match the saber lights he sent out in a stable manner. Accumulating power required a process. The longer the time, the greater the power. The shorter the time, the weaker the power. Although a casual strike from Shao Chen was already very powerful for someone of his realm, it was still very powerful. But in the eyes of a true expert, it was not enough to deal a fatal blow. However, everything needed to be tempered. He had only comprehended the Thunder Dragon 9 transformations today. How could he possibly reach perfection in one go? Shao Chen was already very satisfied with its current power. Earlier, Shao Chen had taken advantage of Xi Shengjie's opening. The Heavenly Eagle Castle's demonic cultivation technique needed to be circulated at all times in order to become stronger. Not only would his fleshly body grow stronger as he extracted the energy of all things in the world, but his attacks would also become even more ferocious, growing stronger with each attack. Their fighting style was also unreasonable. Those who fought with them all felt aggrieved. If he wanted to win, he had to win quickly. He had to end his opponent's life with a single strike. Otherwise, as long as there was a sliver of hope left, the other party's demonic arts would allow him to quickly recover from his injuries and launch a counterattack. Shao Chen caught hold of the other party, not daring to act rashly. He was still recovering from the shock from the sharp spirit finger. It had to be said that making a sudden move was an excellent opportunity. 81 strands of saber light poured in at the same time, instantly shredding the other party's life force. Under normal circumstances, no matter how many saber lights there were, it would be difficult to deal fatal damage to the opponent. On the other hand, if Yan Chen had not shocked the 100 demonic Dao experts in all directions, he would have died. There was no chance for her to take him away. Otherwise, if a chaotic battle broke out, Xiaochen wouldn't have to worry about his life, but it would be hard to say what would happen to the little monk. He had gotten himself into big trouble, and the other party was kind enough to save his life. Now that he had settled down, the first thing he said wasn't thanks. Yet, he was criticizing Xiaochen's skills with the saber. It had to be said that Xiaochen was somewhat speechless. However, Yan Chen did not seem to notice this. He continued happily, hence, I feel that you should gather the saber lights together and execute the killing blow. In the future, when he raised his cultivation level, he would slowly separate them. At that time, not only will I be able to execute it more proficiently, but the might of the saber light will also not weaken, successfully reaching consummation. Xiaochen couldn't be bothered with him. He casually sat on a rock and closed his eyes to rest. Xiaochen felt somewhat worried. The true inheritors of the 3 demonic Dao sects and the inner sect elders had not appeared. It was truly unexpected. It seemed like the true contest would take place after Nightless Heaven. The true inheritors and the experts of the 7-star pirate ships were all in closed-door cultivation, waiting for the mysterious phenomenon to happen. This would allow him to obtain the greatest opportunity in the main peak of the Myriad Star Mountain. There was also Big Brother Yen, who was no longer by her side and was indeed the biggest hidden danger. Who knew what he was up to? Big Brother Xiao, what do you think of what I said? Yan Chen asked again as he walked over to Xiao Chen's side, not willing to be ignored. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and carefully looked at Yan Chen. Yan Chen had delicate features, thick eyebrows, and large eyes. His smiling face looked somewhat young. Little monk, what secrets are you hiding? Why did the inherited Dao tool of the demon race automatically fall into your hands? Xiaochen asked, feeling confused. It was hard to explain why the inherited Dao tool of the demonic Dao ended up in Xiaochen's hands. After all, Xiaochen had already entered the demonic Dao. His physical body had been modified by the immemorial demon soul, and his primal core contained a large amount of veritable essence energy made of demonic qi. However, this inherited Dao tool ended up in the hands of the little monk. Since the things of the world happened, there had to be a reason. Yan Qin said helplessly, I don't know, either. The moment I was born, Master said that I used up all my luck. From now on, I will not be able to escape misfortune. Many a time, even if I do not seek trouble, trouble always finds me. The last time Xiaochen heard Yan Qin say this, he did not believe it. Now, he muttered to himself, is there really such an unlucky person? However, my master always smiled and told me that being able to be born is my greatest blessing, the fortune of the Buddhist sect. However, in the few years that I left the mountain to travel, I was extremely unlucky. The only consolation is that I defeated the people of the righteous Dao and demonic Dao. People call them? Xiaochen asked, finding it strange, what people call them. Every time the little monk said this, he would stop. This made Xiaochen curious about what people called them. Yan Qin said embarrassedly, I'll tell you next time. Next time. When Xiaochen mentioned people's nicknames, Yan Chen's interest immediately vanished. Just at this moment, Xiaochen raised his eyebrows, and his heart sank. Then, he looked calmly at Yan Chen and said, Little monk, it looks like we have to part ways for now. Yan Chen was startled when he heard that. That can't be. You saved my life several times and are a benefactor of the Buddhist sect. I was still thinking of giving you pointers on saber techniques after I recover. Xiaochen said indifferently, there's no need. Yan Chen giggled and said, Of course, of course. Master said that the debt of saving a life is greater than the heavens. It is not proper for me to leave like this. Xiaochen smiled coldly and expressionlessly. You leaving is the greatest repayment to me. Aside from trouble, what else is there to be with you? Ah, this startled Yan Chen. Unexpectedly, Big Brother Xiao, whom he seemed to get along with, thought this way as well. Yan Chen could not help feeling somewhat disappointed, feeling guilty. Then, he scratched his head and smiled. I'll be leaving, then. My bad luck does indeed spread to others. I did not think of that earlier. Seeing the little monk really go far away, Xiaochen heaved a sigh of relief. His expression did not change at all. Ha ha ha. Little brother Xiao, we meet again. The Iron Horn Pirates captain, Yan Zhe, suddenly appeared from nowhere. However, this time, he was not alone. A lethargic old man stood beside Yan Zhe. His aura was even scarier than Yan Zhe's. Yan Zhe's body was shriveled and as skinny as a piece of wood. His face was practically devoid of flesh, and his facial features were all sunken in. No one knew how old this old man was. Yan Zhe pointed at Xiaochen and said, Senior Chai, this is the young bladesman Xiaochen that I told you about. He is the one who coincidentally obtained the Scarlet Blood War banner's recognition. Indeed, the new generation excels the old. Young man, not bad, not bad. Senior Chai laughed sinisterly, his voice making one tremble. Xiaochen stood up and said, Senior Chai, you are too polite. Then, Xiaochen looked at Yan Zhe and said, Big brother Yan, you came somewhat early. The nightless mysterious phenomenon will appear only after some time. Yan Zhe smiled mysteriously. It's not early. You came at the right time. In a few more days, the three great demonic Dao sects will work together to clear the area, ensuring that they will be the first to enter the main peak and gain the greatest advantage. At this moment, the disciples of the three great demonic Dao sects are all in closed-door cultivation in their sections. This is the best time for us to enter the main peak. This time, we have to take the initiative. Xiaochen looked at the sky. Demonic clouds shrouded the place, not scattering. There were no signs of any changes at all. Without a mysterious phenomenon, the demonic clouds shrouding the myriad star mountain's main peak would not scatter. Not to mention a holy venerate, even a sovereign personage would not be able to barge into the main peak at this moment. Seeing the strange expression on Xiaochen's face, Yan Zhe smiled and said, With you around, these demonic clouds will not be difficult. Take out the Scarlet Blood War banner. This entire 100,000 Great Peaks is the body that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King transformed into. He sensed that the Scarlet Blood War banner acknowledged him. He sensed that the Scarlet Blood War banner acknowledged you and blew gently, and these demonic clouds covering the sky will naturally scatter. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. It turned out that this Yan Zhe had planned this long ago. Back then, when Yan Zhe saw that Xiaochen obtained the Scarlet Blood War banner's recognition, he probably already predicted this day. Xiaochen's strength did not catch Yan Zhe's attention at all. The partner that Yan Zhe truly sought was this lethargic, skinny Senior Chai before him. Xiaochen's thoughts were meticulous. He immediately thought of the saying, put away the bow after all the birds have been killed. If he helped him open the path to the main peak, it would be his death. But at this moment, the two Saint Venerables were looking at him with smiles on their faces. He simply had no chance to resist. Xiaochen's heart twitched, but his expression did not change. He took out the Scarlet Blood War banner and stabbed it into the ground. It stabbed into the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's body. His body was like a mountain, spanning tens of thousands of miles. His eyes were like the stars in the sky, and there was no night. The Scarlet Blood War banner had a telepathic connection with Xiaochen. It was like an extra arm that Xiaochen had stabbed into the ground. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's body immediately sensed an aura that he had not sensed in a long time. Rumble. At this moment, the entire 100,000 mountain range began to shake violently. The seawater in all directions surged and the waves surged. The seawater was merciless as it suddenly changed its expression. In an instant, it smashed countless ships in the vicinity. It was like a giant was trying to stand up in the water. Senior Chai appeared excited. However, Yan Zhe still had a faint smile on his face. No joy or excitement could be seen on his face. Whoosh! The demonic clouds covering the surrounding 5 million kilometers shrank continuously, gathering at the main peak, which was shrouded in demonic clouds all year round. Boundless starlight shone down, quickly filling the nearby sea region. Then, starlight spread out and slowly covered the 100,000 mountain range. The nightless mysterious phenomenon is starting in advance. Strange. In the past, the demonic clouds spread out from the inside. Why is it gathering from the outside this time? It's like some strange existence swallowed up all the demonic clouds. Such an earth-shattering and majestic phenomenon instantly attracted the attention of countless people. Yanzhe laughed loudly and grasped the scarlet blood war banner that he stabbed into the ground. Little brother Xiao, the Forbidden Land is dangerous. You should stay here first. Senior Chai and I will take our leave first. At this moment, countless people rushed towards the main peak. However, Yanzhe and Senior Chai were holy venerates, so they immediately surpassed everyone. Those who were blind and blocked the way did not even have time to make a sound before dying without an intact corpse. The true inheritors of the 3 great demonic Dao sects, the inner sect elders, and the experts of the other 7-star pirate ships were still far away. Yanzhe and Senior Chai were destined to go first, ahead of everyone else. Xiao Chen, who remained where he was, showed an extremely sullen expression. This was the first time he felt so furious and helpless. This Yanzhe was extremely despicable. What did Yanzhe take Xiao Chen to be? A pawn that he could manipulate at will. Chapter 1811. Brother Yan, why didn't you bring that junior along with you? Senior Chai's eyes flickered. His words always gave off a sinister and terrifying feeling, causing people to tremble in fear. On the other hand, Yanzhe was able to remain calm. He smiled and said, "This young man is not simple. If we bring him along, there might be some accidents. After all, he obtained the recognition of the Scarlet Blood War banner. If he can make use of some of the restrictions, the 2 of us will be in danger." Yanzhe's worry was not without reason. Since Xiao Chen could obtain the Scarlet Blood War banner's recognition, many of the restrictions in the Forbidden Land might be ineffective against him. Given the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's strength, he was fully capable of leaving behind such a backup plan. Elder Chai nodded slightly. That makes sense. Then why not just kill him? Killing a major primal core venerate would be easier than killing an ant. Yanzhe smiled and said, "That won't do. If there are still some inheritances in there that we need to use him, then wouldn't we be getting caught in our own web? But if that's the case, how are we going to find him?" "Ha, you don't have to worry about this, Elder Chai. If I can find him now, I'll definitely be able to find him later. He can't escape from me." Yanzhe was complacent and confident, and he practically took every possibility into account. My goodness, this person is indeed not simple. Elder Chai thought to himself, and he could not help but have a higher opinion of Yanzhe. Yanzhe scheming and meticulous, causing others to feel a lingering fear in their hearts. It was a scary thing to be targeted by him. Fortunately, Xiao Chen did not have any conflict of interest with the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's inheritance. He was not interested in fighting for it. All he needed was a secret technique that could allow him to live another life, or an elixir that could extend his lifespan. As holy venerates, the 2 advanced rapidly. Soon, they arrived at the main peak of the Myriad Star Mountain. Their expressions changed abruptly. They saw that there was a huge hole on the main peak, and it was continuously sucking in the demonic clouds. Yanzhe said sullenly, "I always thought that this demonic cloud was natural." Unexpectedly, it appeared from the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's body. Senior Chai sighed. After he died, he turned into a body the size of 100,000 great mountains. I really can't imagine how strong the Scarlet Blood Pirate King was when he was alive. I wonder if he has become a god. The god that Elder Chai mentioned was a true god, not a faux god. When Yanzhe saw such a spectacular scene, he was also rather astonished, and he followed up, saying, "Wanting to become a true god is easier said than done. If you can ignite the divine flame and become a full god, you can call yourself a king in the world and seize the providence of heaven and earth. The two of them hesitated. This was indeed an accident. This time, the demonic clouds did not disperse. They were all sucked into the main peak, and a mysterious hole appeared. Without a doubt, that cave was the inheritance ground of the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasures. The problem now was that the huge cave entrance was filled with roiling demonic clouds that manifested into many terrifying phenomena and magical beasts. The demonic chi there was extremely vast, making it difficult to enter. Elder Chai, it's up to you now. Yenja glanced at the skinny old man by his side and spoke with a smile. Let's attack. Senior Chai didn't say anything. His figure flashed as he flew towards the cave entrance. From afar, the entrance of the cave was not particularly wide. In comparison, one would realize that a martial artist was truly too insignificant compared to the entrance of the cave. Boom! The two had just approached when they saw the demonic clouds in the cave turn into a group of demonic soldiers of hell wearing demonic armor, charging over in the thousands. At this moment, the demonic clouds had not been completely absorbed yet, so they were at their most berserk. However, the two wanted to seize the initiative, so they could not care so much. Senior Chai coldly snorted and sent out a palm strike. A palm wind swept out. A palm wind swept out, forcibly tearing a gap in the vast army. The two seized this opportunity and flashed past, entering the cave entrance. However, this was just the beginning. The demonic clouds in the cave became even more horrifying. There was no night in the sky. 10,000 stars flickered, and the 100,000 great peaks shone with light. Everywhere one looked, the trees, flowers, grass, forests, and rocks were bathed in a faint layer of starlight, looking very beautiful. The entire 100,000 great peaks seemed to be covered in a veil of starlight, looking like an immortal realm, dreamy and illusory. Xiaoqin remained where he was, calming down for a while before he calmed down. Since the Scarlet Blood War banner had been collected, Yenja must have planted something similar to the black lotus mark on Xiaoqian's body, allowing him to track him at any time. Furthermore, Yenja had worked together with another old holy venerate. No matter how one looked at it, the situation was a mess for Xiaoqin. Right now, the correct choice should be to go as far away as possible. However, Xiaoqin was not resigned to this. He could not swallow this frustration. Actually, Yenja had already imperceptibly become a demon in his heart. If he couldn't defeat this person, then he wouldn't be able to defeat him. If Xiaoqin could not defeat this person, he would not be able to go far on the path of the martial Tao. Ever since Xiaoqin entered the Great Thousand Realms, he had walked alone until now. Others would not be able to understand the hardships he had gone through. Right now, he felt extremely humiliated. However, the word, give up, never existed in Xiaoqian's dictionary. He would never give up until he did his best. The path of cultivation did not depend on talent. Who could persevere with the pride in their hearts and never give up? Who would be able to ascend the throne that stood at the peak in the end? Xiaoqin did not move blindly. He closed his eyes and went through all his trump cards. Then, he seriously analyzed the information he obtained. When Xiaoqin opened his eyes again, there was no confusion, no resentment, no anger. His eyes were like clear water, calm and penetrating. They looked like endless waves. However, if one peered into those deep eyes, one would see the flame hidden in the depths of Xiaoqian's eyes. The blazing flame burned brightly. Whoosh! 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 Under the illumination of starlight, Xiaoqin quickly traveled through the 100,000 great peaks, flying towards the main peak of the Myriad Star Mountain. Although he was already very late, Xiaoqin was not in a rush. He slowly advanced at only a tenth of his usual speed. Xiaoqin had already expected that the mysterious cave at the main peak that swallowed up the demonic clouds would be extraordinary. If he went early, he might not have an opportunity. Perhaps he would just leave behind a pile of bones to pave the way for later generations. At this moment, people rushed over from thousands of kilometers around the 100,000 great peaks, flying towards the main peak. All of them chased after the stars and the moon, moving astonishingly fast, afraid of being too slow. Immediately, the demonic light treasure tools bathed in starlight materialized another scene in the sky above the 100,000 great peaks. This place was originally the remnant of the myriad holy church. Since then, all sorts of treasures had appeared. This was especially so for the main peak. This year, the mysterious phenomenon happened early, and a mysterious cave appeared at the main peak. It would be hard not to attract attention. Xiaochen already felt several terrifying auras rushing over, radiating vast demonic might and starlight. Everywhere these auras passed, the ground trembled, forcing people to retreat, not daring to get close at all. The commotion caused by this scene was much greater than when the inherited Dao tool appeared. The many true inheritors, the experts of the 7-star pirate ships, and the demonic Dao sect elders were probably rushing over at their fastest speed. So many corpses. As Xiaochen walked over, he saw more and more corpses strewn all over the ground, dying incredibly miserable deaths. Before the competition officially started, the competition already started. All sorts of killings appeared. Boom! A loud sound rang out in the sky, and demonic chi surged into the sky. Clearly, people started fighting over a disagreement. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared. Veritable essence energy surged, and thunderous sounds rang out. Whoosh! Suddenly, a ferocious beast flew out of the mountains. Then, it opened its huge mouth and swallowed up all the people fighting. Following that, the ferocious beast shrank to human form. It turned out that the peak experts of the Heavenly Eagle Castle had executed their demonic cultivation techniques and turned into ferocious beasts, eating up all the people fighting in one go. Trash! With this bit of strength, you dare to snatch fortuitous encounters? How dare you block the way? You deserve to die. The gray-clad man licked his lips and landed on a huge heavenly thunder eagle in the air. Thunder rang out as the gray-clad man rushed to the main peak at lightning speed. It was a true inheritor. Xiaochen felt startled. This person arrived really quickly. However, although this person was strong, there was still a gap between him and Yan Zhe and that skinny old man. Although Xiaochen felt that this person was very strong, he did not feel any fear. Since even a true inheritor was here, Xiaochen no longer hid his strength. He moved at full speed. 1 hour later, Xiaochen's figure flashed. He leaped up and gently landed at the mysterious cave on the main peak. Chapter 1812. It arrived. All the demonic clouds in the sky had already been sucked into this mysterious cave. The black demonic clouds that filled the cave turned into all sorts of strange-looking demonic beasts. Their furious roars shook the sky and ground. All sorts of aggrieved spirits and evil spirits howled and howled in the churning black clouds at the cave entrance, expressing the helplessness and despair of the world. The boundless hatred made people feel incomparably terrifying. Everywhere Xiaochen looked, he saw countless corpses lying around the cave entrance. The 3 demonic Dao sects and the ferocious pirates of the Starlight Sea must have fought a huge battle here, resulting in many deaths. However, most of the people should have already killed their way into this mysterious cave. As Xiaochen looked up at this huge cave entrance, he felt very insignificant and melancholy. When the Scarlet Blood Pirate King was alive, he should have been as strong as a faux god. As for true gods, Xiaochen felt that they were not there yet. After advancing to true god, one would be able to exist with the world. Their physical bodies would be immortal, and their souls would not be extinguished, existing forever. However, it was said that there were no true gods in the world. It was like how the immortals of the immortal epoch lived in the heavenly court. True gods lived in a similar world. This was because true gods had already broken free from the control of the heavenly Tao. They did not suffer from the torment of aging, sickness, and death. If they appeared in the Great Thousand Realms, they would disrupt the order of the world. Under normal circumstances, true gods would not appear in the Great Thousand Realms. Those who could advance to Foe God already stood at the peak of the great thousand realms. They had immortal bodies and long lifespans, nearly immortal. However, even if they did not die, they would still die, just like the Scarlet Blood Pirate King before Shao Chen. What a mysterious cave entrance. It looks like the mouth of a monster. It sucked in 5 million kilometers of demonic clouds in one gulp. How can this be? If this is the mouth of a monster, how strong is that monster? That is impossible. Strange. Strange. I heard that the Myriad Holy Church, a large demonic Tao sect, discovered a startling secret of the Myriad Star Mountain, resulting in the destruction of the entire sect. I wonder if it has something to do with this mysterious cave entrance. Just at this moment, another group of people arrived near the cave entrance. When they saw the various mysterious phenomena materialized in the surging demonic clouds, they did not rush in. However, they did not advance rashly. Instead, they gathered together and discussed softly. When Shao Chen heard that, he looked at the hole again. This might really be the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's mouth. Given that, the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's inheritance should be in his body. The body of a Void God Realm expert must have something special and unique. It must be dangerous. So. Light shone everywhere. Some of the demonic Tao cultivators behind could not help charging over. Sensing that someone had entered, the demonic cloud at the entrance of the cave immediately transformed into various ferocious beasts and flew over. After entering the demonic cloud at the entrance of the cave, there were sounds of intense fighting. Suddenly, miserable screams came from inside. The people who went in all died inside. Many scarlet aggrieved spirits materialized in the churning demonic clouds. These were the demonic Tao cultivators who rushed in earlier. Fuck, this demonic cloud is actually devouring the flesh and blood of cultivators to grow. Even if they die, they will not be able to reincarnate. Who knows how many people will be stumped by just this entrance. This is really frustrating. We clearly know that this is the entrance to the treasure trove, but we still cannot enter. When the group of demonic Tao cultivators saw the mysterious phenomenon of the demonic clouds at the entrance, they all cursed, venting the dissatisfaction in their hearts. Shao Chen thought to himself, with my speed, I can instantly break through this demonic cloud with the Thunder Dragon burst. Without getting entangled in the demonic cloud, I can pass through without any injuries. This is not a problem for me. Just as Shao Chen was about to make his move, an incredibly strong aura suddenly spread out. He felt a chill run down his back as a boundless chill assaulted him. A strange 300-meter-long bird that seemed illusory and real slowly descended from the sky, carrying a few people. An underworld ghost bird. Shao Chen raised his eyebrows. He had long heard of this strange bird that could immaterialize its physical body. It had a strong spatial attribute. Legend had it that it was born in the abyssal underworld. One could find the door to the abyssal underworld by riding it. It's the Blood Demon Royal Hall's people. Upon seeing the underworld ghost bird appear, the nearby people immediately recognized the people on the bird's back. There are very few underworld ghost birds. Only true inheritors are qualified to have them. The leader's aura is so strong. Could it be the top true inheritor, Yunmubai? The top true inheritor. Shao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He could not help looking carefully. He saw that the leader of the underworld ghost bird was dressed in white. This person's complexion was very fair, like that of a woman's. There was a blood moon mark on his forehead, and beautiful maidservants surrounded him. Whoosh! Before Shao Chen could look carefully, the underworld ghost bird pierced through the demonic cloud. Its body slowly immaterialized, and the people on its back melted into the air as well. Just like that, the underworld ghost bird silently entered unscathed. The underworld ghost bird truly lives up to its name. How miraculous! Yunmubai already appeared. Then, the Fantasy Cloud sect's Xiahou Xian and the Heavenly Eagle Castle's Long Tingyu should be arriving soon. They are all experts. I heard that these three are late-stage star venerates, unrivaled among star venerates. Without a holy venerate, no one can injure them. They will only be seeking death. The underworld ghost bird was indeed strong. However, that was all. A brilliant light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes, and the thunder dragon burst instantly exploded. Thunder roared, and he moved like an aurora, instantly piercing through the demonic cloud. Damn! Who is this? How fast? Since when did such an expert appear in the vicinity? It should be the upper echelon of a 7-star pirate ship. I heard that the 3 great 7-star pirate groups of the Myriad Star Sea region, the Silver Fox Pirate Group, the Blood Shadow Pirate Group, and the Berserk Wind Pirate Group, are all here. This is getting more and more chaotic. We can't even enter this hole. It looks like we won't be able to obtain any benefits at all. After piercing through the demonic cloud, Xiaochen followed the only path down and looked around. From top to bottom, there were walls comparable to divine gold, incomparably sturdy. When one stretched out one's hand to touch them, one would feel an eternal and inextinguishable feeling. The nearby sharp-eyed experts could tell that these walls were extraordinary. They took out their Dao tools, wanting to smash them down. However, none of them succeeded. Instead, the Dao tools of some people were not strong enough. Cracks appeared on their Dao tools, and the great Dao they contained showed signs of crumbling. Damn it! What the hell is this place? To think that my Dao tools are crippled just like that. This is incredible. A complete great Dao actually crumbled. Some star venerate experts felt regret, wanting to cry. As Xiaochen looked at this long tunnel, he entered deep thought. If the entrance of the tunnel was the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's mouth, if the hole was the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's mouth, then they were currently walking in the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's throat. As Xiaochen looked at the long tunnel and the terrifyingly tough walls, he could not help feeling startled. How strong was the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's physical body when he was alive? My name is Scarlet Blood. My body is scarlet iron, and my blood is burning. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's last words started with these 3 sentences. Now that Xiaochen saw it for himself, he realized that it was true. In fact, it was even more than that. Xiaochen kept walking forward. After 500 kilometers, the temperatures suddenly soared. Suddenly, a vast sea of blood appeared in front. The sea of blood surged like lava. It gurgled and gave off steam. This was a burning sea of blood. The sea of blood was vast, and a continent floated in the center. The burning sea of blood was another hurdle. Not only was it very hot, but there were also many flaming fish monsters in it. With one look, it was clear that they were not to be trifled with. That continent? Xiaochen frowned slightly. There seemed to be another world in that continent. When he looked in, he vaguely saw 2 different lights spreading in the surroundings. Heart like the sun and moon, shining together for 10,000 years. Could that continent be the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's heart? It is very likely that the inheritance is in the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's heart. My body is like a sword, filled with pride. My heart is like the sun and moon, shining together for 10,000 years. The scorching blood was this boundless sea of blood that burned endlessly. The vast continent floating above the sea of blood was the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's heart. There was a world in it. The sun and moon existed together, shining together for 10,000 years. If one could find that treasure sword filled with pride in the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's heart, one could obtain the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's inheritance and inherit the treasures he left behind. Perhaps a person like Yan Zhe would not understand what this body is like a sword represented. However, from a certain perspective, Xiaochen felt that Yan Zhe was the same kind of person as the Scarlet Blood Pirate King. Now that he arrived at the place indicated by the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's last words, he immediately understood. Chapter 1813. Raging flames surged, and the sea of blood was boundless. As more and more cultivators passed through the demonic clouds, more and more cultivators gathered at the seaside. With the lesson of the demonic cloud at the entrance of the cave, no one dared to act rashly this time. Xiaochen suddenly became vigilant. It seemed that more and more people were paying attention to him. He had condensed his will of soul and made several breakthroughs in his physical body. It was just a look, but Xiaoqin could feel it. A long time ago, he had exposed himself in the princess's mansion because of a single glance. Now, he also possessed such strength. Without batting an eyelid, he listened attentively. A moment later, he understood the reason behind it. It turned out to be a group from the Heavenly Eagle Castle. Xiaoqin had killed Si Xingjie, the strongest core disciple of the Heavenly Eagle Castle, in front of everyone. The Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples hid in the crowd, fearing Xiaoqian's strength. He acted very cautiously, only occasionally glancing at Xiaoqian. Not a single trace of his killing intent leaked out. Xiaoqian's heart skipped a beat. These fellows were secretly passing down orders to summon the sect's true disciples or elders. Xiao. Without hesitation, Xiaoqian's figure flashed as he flew towards the Scarlet Sea. As soon as he flew into the Blood Sea, Xiaoqian felt the pressure increase by 1,000 times. His body fell into the sea like a kite with a broken string. We've been discovered. Stop him. The expressions of the Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples who had been watching Xiaoqian in secret changed drastically, and they all attacked from a distance. Killer moves were launched towards Xiaoqian without holding back. After seeing Xiaoqian instantly kill Si Xingjie in one move, these Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples did not underestimate Xiaoqian just because of his cultivation. When he attacked, he used his best killer move. Such a scene immediately attracted the attention of all the martial artists nearby. What kind of grudge did so many core disciples of the Heavenly Eagle Castle actually attack together? Who was the white-robed bladesman? To think that these core disciples used killing moves to deal with a major primal core venerate. In the air, Xiaoqian did not panic. He first activated his Divine Dragon War body and stabilized his descent. Xiaoqian circulated the Primal Chaos Veritable Essence energy in his 9-star Primal Core. The two vast Veritable Essence energies spun at the same time, and Xiaoqian's aura immediately soared. As Xiaoqian's hair flew about, the Scarlet Sea below churned endlessly, kicking up towering waves. Not wanting to waste any more time, Xiaoqian directly used brute force to break the technique. Using his vast and vigorous quintessential essence, he directly struck out with his palm. Boom! A palm wind blew, and a formless Taiji force field appeared around Xiaoqian. The Taiji force field weakened the wind. With a single palm strike, he blocked all the remaining attacks. Xiaoqian smiled faintly. His body gently floated as he continued to fly away. The shockwaves spread out and fell into the sea of blood, causing pillars of blood-colored water to form. Senior Brother Yang will be here soon. We can't let him leave like this. Chase! The 10-odd Heavenly Eagle Castle core disciples at the seaside leaped up and chased after Xiaoqian at the same time. The Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples all took out their Heavenly Thunder Eagles and frantically chased over the blazing Scarlet Sea. The scorching Scarlet Sea was terrifyingly hot. Those Heavenly Thunder Eagles all felt very anxious and restless, crying out in pain. However, under the forceful control of their masters, they had no choice but to continue flying. With all sorts of stimulation, the Heavenly Thunder Eagle's peak speed was brought out. What kind of deep grudge is this? Forcefully controlling the Heavenly Thunder Eagles like this will exhaust a lot of energy. If they are not careful, they might even get burned to death. That white-robed bladesman seems to be the one who killed Si Xingjie with one saber strike earlier. It's him. No wonder. The strongest core disciple was killed. If they cannot establish their might, it will have a great impact on the sect's reputation. The crowd whispered to each other. Many of the cultivators who did not see it personally understood what happened. They all showed shocked expressions. They did not know when such a strong bladesman appeared in the Starlight Sea. The Scarlet Sea was very vast, but it was still a long way from that continent. Xiaoqian did not dare to speed up at full speed. 1 hour later, 10-odd Heavenly Thunder Eagles caught up to Xiaoqian. After all, this group of people overdrew on the Heavenly Thunder Eagle's life force. Shao Qin could not compare to them. Brat, stay here. When the person at the very front saw that Shao Qin was close, he pushed off the ground and left the heavenly thunder eagles back, chasing after Shao Qin. Boom! However, the moment that person left the heavenly thunder eagle, he felt a huge pressure bearing down on him. The demonic Tao cultivation technique that he continuously circulated instantly paused. Damn it! Why is the gravity of this scarlet sea 100-fold stronger? Whoosh! However, before that person could stabilize his body, he saw a saber light charging at him. Before he could react, 81 saber lights appeared on his body. Blood spurted out from his wounds, and he fell into the sea like a shot put. After Shao Qin sheathed his saber, he looked at the Heavenly Eagle Castle disciple, who was instantly burned to bones in the Scarlet Sea. Without saying anything, Shao Qin turned around and continued flying forward. The martial technique that the little monk felt was flashy and impractical was actually very useful in many cases. The familiar scene reappeared. The Heavenly Eagle Castle cultivators in hot pursuit paused and got their Heavenly Thunder Eagles to stop. It was this move again. Another instant kill in the blink of an eye. How terrifying was this person? Humph. Since when did my Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples become so cowardly? Bunch of trash. Suddenly, a cold snort came from the distance. Then, the whistling sound drew closer. The horrifying pressure slowly increased, making it even harder to move in this Scarlet Sea, which had an extremely strong gravity in the first place. In the end, Shao Qin was still too slow. Shao Qin remained expressionless as he stopped. Senior Brother Yang is here. He can't run anymore. The many Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples behind immediately heaved a sigh of relief, showing joy on their faces. However, the smiles on their faces did not freeze. Instead, they saw an eternal and inextinguishable saber light sweeping over. The Heavenly Thunder Eagles that the Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples rode were struck. They cried out miserably as they were chopped in half. The Heavenly Thunder Eagles had already severely overdrawn on their life force in the first place, suffering the assault of the heat waves at every moment. How could they survive under Shao Chen's Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques resolving the mundane? The disciples on the Heavenly Thunder Eagles did not expect that Shao Chen would seek trouble for them instead of fighting Senior Brother Yang. Furthermore, Shao Chen did not seek trouble for themselves but for the Heavenly Thunder Eagles they rode. When they felt the gravity of the Scarlet Sea, their shock turned into horror. Thunder Dragon 9 Transformations. Boom. 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 The Thunder Great Tao energy and Primal Chaos veritable essence energy that filled Shao Chen's body exploded 9 times in a row. The remaining 9 simply could not block Shao Chen's fast saber technique in time. After getting struck by the saber and the shockwaves from resolving the mundane, although they were not fatal, they could not stabilize their bodies. With extremely dissatisfied expressions, they fell into the Scarlet Sea and burned into a pile of withered bones. The demonic Tao cultivators on the distant seaside all felt a chill run down their backs when they saw this scene. This white-clad blades man looked delicate and pretty, not like someone of the demonic Tao. However, when this blades man attacked, he was even more ruthless than a demonic Tao cultivator. He did not say anything or make any unnecessary movements. You are seeking death. When the Heavenly Eagle Castle disciple that rushed over saw this scene, he nearly went crazy with rage. As he roared, his body continuously enlarged. Suddenly, he turned into a huge and terrifying ferocious beast, charging at Shao Chen to bite him. It's you. A brilliant light flashed in Shao Chen's eyes. He recalled seeing this scene along the way. Unexpectedly, he ran into this person so soon. However, Shao Chen did not want to fight with this person now. Without the Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples holding him back, this person could not catch up to him. We will meet again in the future. Shao Chen smiled faintly and executed the Thunder Dragon burst at full power. Then, he turned into a bolt of lightning and moved 50 kilometers backward. After that, Shao Chen's figure flickered, and he changed directions again. He stood on a lightning dragon, moving incredibly nimbly in this blazing scarlet sea. The ferocious beast turned into a human. As Yang Feng looked at Xiao Qian, who was already far away in the Scarlet Sea, he gritted his teeth in hatred. This was Yang Feng's first time being toyed with so miserably. Furthermore, that person even killed all the Heavenly Eagle Castle disciples in front of him. Do you think that you can run? No one has ever escaped from me, Yang Feng, when I, Yang Feng, want to kill them. Yang Feng roared ferociously. As he circulated his demonic Tao cultivation technique, his expression turned sinister. Suddenly, his body exploded, turning into a 3-kilometer-tall giant. Then, he ran on the Scarlet Sea. He moved as fast as the wind, traveling 50 kilometers with each step. Chapter 1814. Yang Feng, who had turned into a 3,000-meter-tall giant, immediately increased his speed. Every step he took caused the sea to rumble endlessly. Boundless waves of blood rolled endlessly. This is the Heavenly Demon Tyrant Body Technique's Heavenly Demon Emergence. I heard that one can execute this secret technique only after cultivating it to the 9th layer. This Yang Feng truly lives up to being a true inheritor of the Heavenly Eagle Castle. When the many demonic Tao cultivators at the Scarlet Sea saw Yang Feng transform into a 3-kilometer-tall Yang Feng, they were all startled. Originally, they thought that after Xiao Qian killed those Heavenly Eagle Castle core disciples at lightning speed, he could use his movement technique to leave. But who would have thought that Yang Feng would actually be so powerful that he could directly cultivate the Celestial Devil Tyrant Body Art to the 9th level? After transforming into a 10,000 zhang giant, his body grew larger, but his movement technique did not weaken in the slightest. Instead, it became even more ferocious, and its speed increased exponentially. In just a moment, he had caught up to Xiao Qian, who had gone far away. It must be said that he was indeed terrifying. Boom boom boom. Behind him, thunderous booms resounded. With every step Yang Feng took, the blazing sea of blood shook violently. It was as if the entire world was spinning, and even space itself was a little chaotic. In fact, this was not Xiao Qian's illusion. Space itself had already been affected. After Yang Feng's body had turned into a 10,000-meter-tall giant, the space around him had already been affected. The terrifying sky demon hockey technique continued to circulate, crazily extracting the power of everything in the world. It was now equivalent to an ancient ferocious beast, affecting the normal operation of the world. Die! Yang Feng leaped up ferociously and clenched his fist. The wind from his fist was like a mountain as he punched at Xiao Qian. His fist was like a small mountain. When it landed, a huge shadow enveloped Xiao Qian. It was as if heaven and earth had turned dark, so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. Dodge! As Xiao Qian controlled the Thunder Great Tao's power, Xiao Qian poured the Great Tao's power and veritable essence energy into his left foot. Xiao Qian gently tapped his feet on the surface of the sea. The surging Scarlet Sea was like cotton candy. As his foot landed, everything within a radius of 100 miles caved in. Boom! Before the Scarlet Sea could bounce back, it was shattered by Yang Feng's fist. Amidst the loud noise, the sea of blood churned even more violently. Bang! Bang! Yang Feng, who had caught up, attacked crazily. Every move he made contained a terrifying force. An ordinary early-stage star venerate would not even be able to withstand one punch from the berserk Yang Feng. In this storm of attacks that tore apart the sea of blood, Xiao Qian was like a nimble little bird. He flew back and forth amidst the rain of flames and blood. Not a single one of them managed to hit him. As long as he was hit, even if it was only half a move, Xiao Qian would have to die here. This guy's attack was too terrifying, and the power was still increasing. Even Xiao Qian did not dare to fight him head-on at this time. As Xiao Qian dodged, his comprehension of the Thunder Dragon steps deepened bit by bit. After finding the rhythm, Xiao Qian had an easier time dealing with the attacks. He was nimble, dodging like the wind. He dodged it. Yang Feng's storm-like attacks caused people to tremble in fear. However, In such a dangerous environment, Xiao Qian was able to handle it. It was hard to imagine that Xiao Qian was just a major primal core venerate. Suddenly, everyone saw a strange scene. Xiao Qian, who had been on the mountain wall, suddenly turned around and threw a punch at the 3-kilometer-tall giant. Whoosh! Everyone was so shocked that they broke out in a cold sweat. The celestial demon tyrant body art became more ferocious the longer it lasted. The longer it lasted, the more horrifying the attack. Right now, even a holy venerate would have to retreat from Yang Feng's attacks. To think that Xiao Qian wanted to clash head-on. Brat, you are seeking death. Things move in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme. Solitary Yin does not exist, and things that are too hard break easily. Can you still hold on after fighting for so long? Stop pretending and scram. Xiao Qian smiled coldly. He had done some research on the celestial demon tyrant body art. He knew that this demonic cultivation technique could not be continuously circulated. Otherwise, it would self-destruct sooner or later. Now was the time for Yang Feng to stop the demonic cultivation technique. Damn it! As Yang Feng watched Xiao Qian charge at him fearlessly and courageously, hatred filled his heart. Yang Feng simply could not imagine why Xiao Qian's eyes were so cunning. Seeing Xiao Qian approach, Yang Feng roared ferociously and retreated quickly. His physical body reverted to its original form, and his aura plummeted. Just at this moment, when Yang Feng reverted to his original form, Xiao Qian's fist light landed on his chest. Heaven and earth, boundless primal chaos. The two veritable essence energies in Xiao Qian's 9-star primal core circulated wildly. Two streams of energy continuously spun around Xiao Qian as he punched. Demonic Qi veritable essence energy and spiritual energy veritable essence energy mixed and exploded. It was not over yet. At the moment when the two veritable essence energies exploded, Xiao Qian activated 30% of his blue dragon bloodline's might. The divine dragon war body's dragon might increased, and 20 cauldron force followed right after. The first wave of explosions shattered all the defenses of the shrunken Yang Feng. Then, 20 cauldron force landed on his body without holding anything back. Dang! The dragon pattern cauldron trembled, and an ancient and savage aura spread out in all directions. Dragon might shook the surroundings. Yang Feng vomited a mouthful of blood, and his body flew back like a meteor, landing on the shore. Yang Feng's strength was somewhat scary. The heavenly eagle castle is only a so-so. Xiao Qian smiled faintly and spread his arms. Electric dragons surrounded him as he headed proudly over the vast Scarlet Sea. Yang Feng, who fell into Xiao Qian's trap and crashed to the shore, was so frustrated that he vomited another mouthful of blood when he heard this. The other cultivators at the shore had already fled far away. They did not dare to appear by Yang Feng's side at this moment. A bona fide heavenly eagle castle true inheritor was reduced to such a sorry state. Who knew how angry he would be? Hey! Isn't this Brother Yang? What's wrong with you? Why are you smiling so unsightly? Did you eat dog shit? Just at this moment, unpleasant mocking laughter rang out. A handsome but evil young man walked over with a group of people. This was Zhou Jinyun, second only to the top true inheritor of the Fantasy Cloud sect, Xiahou Xian. The nearby crowd felt startled. Another ruthless person arrived. The Heavenly Eagle Castle and the Fantasy Cloud sect had always been on bad terms. Now that they saw Yang Feng's dispirited appearance, they could not help mocking him. Ha! Senior Brother O, that might really be possible. The people of the Heavenly Eagle Castle just love to eat. Ferocious beast corpses, cultivator corpses, they eat them all. Perhaps they really ate dog shit. That's right. Otherwise, why would his expression be so unsightly? With Zhou Jinyun backing them, the Fantasy Cloud sect disciples did not fear the severely injured Yang Feng. Zhou Jinyun, you loser. Do you think that you can bully me as you please just because I'm injured? After being repeatedly thwarted, Yang Feng, who was on the ground, became so frustrated that he vomited blood. He roared and charged at Zhou Jinyun. You overestimate yourself. Oh Jinyun smiled coldly. He actually did nothing when facing Yang Feng's incredibly ferocious punch. Bang! The fist light collided with Yang Feng's chest and produced a muffled sound. Yang Feng screamed in pain. Yang Feng cried out in pain, revealing an extremely horrified expression. He could not help punching again with his left hand, resulting in another dull sound. The bones in his two arms were shattered by the recoil, and they were temporarily crippled. This old man refined this essence magnetic treasure armor to deal with you mad dogs of the Heavenly Eagle Castle. Today, I will deal with you first. Oh Jinyun grinned, looking incredibly ferocious. He waved his hand, and a ghost pennant appeared in his right hand. Then, he waved it gently. Ghosts howled and aggrieved spirits howled. Then, a 1,000-legged centipede made of demonic chi flew out of the ghost pennant. The centipede wobbled as it chased after the retreating Yang Feng. Yang Feng felt incredible regret in his heart. Dragging his crippled arms, he ran for his life in a sorry state. Ha ha ha. Senior brother, look at him now. He really looks like a dog. When the Fantasy Cloud sect disciples saw Yang Feng running away with his arms dangling, they all started laughing. Oh Jinyun showed an extremely cocky expression, feeling very pleased in his heart. Seeing that he managed to push Yang Feng to this extent, he smiled and said, Yang Feng, in the future, when you see this old man, run far away. Come, let's quickly go to that continent. The myriad holy church was once destroyed there. There must be a great fortuitous encounter there. This time, after I obtain the essence magnetic treasure armor, I will definitely kill everyone. Oh Jinyun felt very heroic as he controlled the 1,000-legged centipede to carry the Fantasy Cloud sect disciples across the Scarlet Sea. Chapter 1815. Xiaochen finally set foot on that continent, which was the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's heart. This continent was incomparably vast, and it looked just like a real continent. There were already countless experts on this continent. Strong auras spread in the air. Xiaochen even sensed the auras of several holy venerates. As expected, those holy venerates had probably already noticed that something was wrong with this forbidden land. However, Xiaochen did not know where Yan Zhe and Senior Chai were now. The two of them were very strong and had the Scarlet Blood War banner. The obstacles in front would not be able to harm them at all. The gravity on the heart was much stronger than that of the Sea of Fire. Walking in it was a great test of a cultivator's physical body. Xiaochen cultivated the Divine Dragon War body and activated 30 to 40% of his Blue Dragon bloodline. Hence, he did not feel much pressure flying in it. The ancient bloodline gave Xiaochen a huge advantage. It allowed him, a major primal core venerate, to move about freely in this heart. He was no weaker than a late-stage star venerate or holy venerate old monster. What a strong life force. To think that I can still feel the pulse of my heart. After Xiaochen stepped on the ground, a mysterious energy came from the depths of the ground, affecting the rate of everyone's heartbeat. Aside from this, Xiaochen also felt sword intent. For someone as sensitive as him, he could easily sense the hazy sword intent that was everywhere in the sky and on the ground. Everything here, be it the rocks, the mountains, or the trees, was as straight and sharp as a sword. Unfortunately, this was not saber intent. If it were, Xiaochen would cultivate it here. By absorbing the saber intent everywhere, his saber Dao would advance at a rapid pace, advancing at a rapid pace. Xiaochen raised his head and looked into the distance. In many places, the demonic clouds churned, turning into a vast army and ancient mutated beasts. The demonic clouds seemed to be hiding something on purpose. From a distance, they looked exceptionally eye-catching. Let's go over and take a look. Executing Thunder Dragon steps, Xiaochen's figure moved like lightning, flickering as he moved quickly. Soon, Xiaochen caught up to the people who had crossed the blazing sea of blood. These people seemed to know that the continent was incredibly dangerous and that there were many unpredictable things, so they temporarily formed a simple team. A major primal core venerate. Upon seeing Xiaochen appear, many of these people revealed strange expressions. Many early-stage star venerates had fallen in love with him. Many early-stage star venerates could not make it here, yet a venerate came. This was truly surprising. Humph. He probably relied on some treasure to rush all the way here. I'm afraid he's a relative of some sex elder. Let him fend for himself. The leader was a white-clad late-stage star venerate old man. He said coldly, "Let's continue on our way. Be more careful. Everything here is very strange. We might lose our lives at any moment." Clearly, this group of people's destination was also the demonic clouds. However, Xiao Chen's SS, and Xiao Chen followed him on. Chen's Tian Chen's SS. He Chen's King Dragon Ling Chen's S off. See Sect King with Chen King, S Tian Chen's star. Xiao Chen passed through a dense forest without any mishaps. Then, a boundless grassland appeared before his eyes. Every blade of grass was about half a meter long and as straight as a sword. When the wind blew, they did not move at all. This was very surprising. Interesting. This is the first time I've seen such straight grass. Indeed. Even the wind cannot move them. Xiao Chen frowned slightly, feeling that something was wrong. The saber intent in his body suddenly trembled slightly. This was a sign of danger. Sure enough, in the next moment, a cool breeze blew over. Bloody holes of various sizes silently appeared in the group of people in the front. Before they could say anything, they fell over. Immediately, the group fell into chaos. They all retreated, using veritable essence energy to protect themselves and drawing their weapons. It was a sword. The wind contained the sword intent that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King left behind when he was alive. This vast grassland was the manifestation of the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's sword intent. The people who fell were not just swept away by the wind. While they were clicking their tongues in wonder, the sword intent had already started to silently invade them. Xiao Chen could not help feeling his hair stand on end. Could it be that the saber intent in his body was trembling uncontrollably? It turned out that it was clashing with the sword intent. How terrifying! No matter how insignificant a swordsman's sword intent was, it was still incredibly sharp, ferocious, and tyrannical. Xiao Chen had never heard of a sword intent that could be so gentle, silent, and yet not losing its sharpness. Just how powerful must such a sword Dao be? It was simply unimaginable. Someone started to make a move, sending out a large fire, wanting to burn all the sword grass away. Who knew? It would have been better if the sword grass had not been burned. Now that it was burned, something major happened. A strong wind blew. The boundless sword intent hidden in the wind covered the sky and sun as it surged over. It was a sword wind. However, no one could tell whether it was a sword wind or a sword hidden in the wind. As the sword wind surged over, everyone panicked. Several people immediately took out their Dao tools. They could not even take care of themselves. Occasionally, miserable cries rang out as the sword wind pierced their bodies. The sword intent tore apart their bones, flesh, and blood, inflicting incredible pain. Boom! Amid this chaotic scene, a person roared at the sky. A resplendent and dazzling saber intent soared into the clouds. Xiao Chen did not draw his saber. A halo of great Dao energy appeared behind him. He did not panic in the face of danger. He used his saber intent to clash with the sword wind. Xiao Chen charged forward ferociously, the Dao halo protecting him as he clashed with the sword wind. Metallic clangs rang out, sounding exceptionally melodious and resounding in the surroundings. Unknowingly, Xiao Chen had reached the very front. As the others panicked, it looked like he was about to break through the sword wind. What a strong saber intent! Great Dao energy! This youth is not simple. He actually comprehended the saber Dao's great Dao energy. To think that I could not tell earlier. If I can get on his good side and get him to bring me out, it might not be impossible. Before the envious gazes of the many experts, Xiao Chen relied on his strong saber Dao cultivation to advance bit by bit. Young man, I can tell that you still have energy to spare. Give us a hand. The eyes of the leader, the white-clad old man, flickered as he looked at Xiaochen. Xiaochen turned his head back and said indifferently, "Sorry, I can tell that senior is doing this with ease as well. Clearly, you still have energy to spare. It does not look like you need help." This old fellow was very shrewd. As a late-stage star venerate, as long as he paid the price, he could break through this sword wind quickly. The white-clad old man wanted to rely on flattery to get Xiaochen to work hard for him foolishly. There was no such thing as that. As the white-clad old man spoke, Xiaochen broke through the sword wind. He switched to his great Tao energy, and electric light flickered around his body as he instantly executed Thunder Dragon steps. Thunder Great Tao. When the white-clad old man saw Xiaochen bring out another great Tao energy, he hesitated for a moment before dismissing some of his thoughts. After passing through the huge sword wind and stopping on this grassy plain, Xiaochen looked around. However, he did not rush. Every stalk of sword grass was extremely valuable. Xiaochen wondered if he should take all the sword grass away. If others knew what Xiaochen was thinking, they would definitely call him a lunatic. In the green grassland, the sword intent was invading his body at every moment. Every moment he stayed here was an additional risk. He could not wait to leave. How could he stop and think about these sword grass? However, Xiaochen was different. His Saber Dao's great Dao energy had already reached an extremely deep level. Although it could not compare to the sword intent that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King left behind, it did not reach the level of combining hardness and softness. However, with his divine dragon war body, he could barely protect himself. As Xiaochen observed in secret, he discovered something interesting. The wind in the air did not come from the turbulence in the distance. Instead, it came from the sword grass themselves. In this boundless grassland, there were some sword grasses that would tremble slightly. The wind was coming from them. Xiaochen extended out his spiritual sense, continuously expanding it. He discovered a total of 7 such sword grass. Such strong sword grass could not be called simply. They were monarchs of swords, kings of grass. Calling them sword monarch grass would be more appropriate. Whoosh! Xiaochen's figure flashed, and he arrived before the closest sword monarch grass. Then, he landed in the grass. The sword grass immediately pierced his body, covering him in wounds and blood. However, Xiaochen did not care about these external wounds. He bent over and grabbed the root of the sword monarch grass. When it trembled slightly, he followed its rhythm and pulled out the sword monarch grass. Ka-xie! Ka-xie! The moment Xiaochen pulled out the sword monarch grass, the sword grass within 500 kilometers immediately shattered like treasured swords, turning into shards flying everywhere. This caused some trouble for the demonic Dao cultivators behind, who were still enduring the sword wind. 1 hour later, all the sword grass in the entire grassy plain broke. Meanwhile, Xiaochen obtained 7 sword monarch grass. Pu-ci. Suddenly, without any warning, 7 strands of sword light shot out of Xiaochen's chest. Blood spurted out like a fountain. Xiaochen had stayed in the grassy plain for too long. His sword intent had accumulated to a certain level, resulting in an unavoidable sword wound. Fortunately, Xiaochen's physical body was strong. Furthermore, his saber intent had been draining the sword intent, so he only suffered a sword wound of this level. If it were Pang Ran, he would definitely die. Worth it. As Xiaochen looked at the 7 jade-green sword monarch grass in his hand, he revealed a faint smile. Chapter 1816. With the 7 sword monarch herbs in hand, Xiaochen showed joy on his face. A vast sword intent burst out of his hand, causing Xiaochen's clothes and long hair to flutter continuously. As Xiaochen held the sword monarch herbs tightly, he felt a chill. The sword intent that leaked out was only an insignificant portion of the vast sword intent of the sword monarch herbs. How strong! If I unleash this sword monarch herb, even a late-stage star venerate old monster would be instantly killed. Xiaochen muttered to himself. However, he did not know if it could severely injure a holy venerate. After all, he had not fought a holy venerate before, so he could not make an accurate estimate. However, Xiao Chen, who had seen Yan Zhi make a move before, had a rough idea. If the sword monarch herbs caught Xiao Chen off guard and the opponent did not understand the situation, they could definitely injure a holy venerate. It all depended on how severe the injury was. However, Xiao Chen could not use these sword monarch herbs right now. He needed to refine them properly. At the very least, he could not let them continue leaking sword intent. Such a waste would make one's heart ache. Xiao Chen raised his head and opened his heavenly eye. Then, he swept his gaze around. After a while, he found a secluded place. Then, he gently pushed off with his feet and flew over. After arriving at the secluded place, Xiao Chen laid a simple defensive formation. Then, he started to use the heavenly flame to refine these sword monarch herbs. Coincidentally, Xiao Chen still had some injuries. He could take this opportunity to recuperate before departing. 3 days later, he successfully refined the sword monarch herbs. The half-meter-long sword soul grass was refined to the size of a palm. It looked very simple and unadorned. They looked very plain and looked like ordinary grass. However, their hardness was somewhat different. They were like thin short swords. Xiao Chen infused his soul energy into them. After familiarizing himself with them, Xiao Chen could control them as he pleased. With a thought, the 7 sword monarch herbs layered over each other and turned into a beam of light dancing around Xiao Chen. With another thought, the 7 sword monarch herbs immediately separated, moving as he pleased and controlling them as he pleased. Withdraw. Xiao Chen spread his hand, and the 7 sword monarch grass were hidden in his sleeve, convenient and secretive. After being delayed for 3 days, his pace had slowed down a little, but Xiao Chen didn't mind. They were fast, but without sufficient trump cards and strength, they would just be sending themselves to their deaths. Moreover, no matter how fast you are, could you possibly be faster than Yan Zhi and Elder Chai? Thinking of them, Xiao Chen felt a wave of anger and a trace of helplessness. However, Xiao Chen vaguely felt that these two would come looking for him sooner or later. The Scarlet Blood War banner was no different from a fire stick in his hands. If the final inheritance still required the Scarlet Blood War banner, then the two would have to come back to look for him. Xiao Chen, who was hurrying along, suddenly noticed a huge handprint on the ground in front of him. The area covered by the palm print was extremely vast. It was the size of a city. There were countless broken corpses lying on the ground, and many people were rummaging through those corpses. Several people gained a lot, feeling extremely shocked. It's the myriad Holy Church's experts. They were completely wiped out, killed by someone with one palm strike. How terrifying! Who exactly is this person? To think that he managed to destroy so many experts of the myriad Holy Church with just one palm strike. In the past, there were rumors that the myriad Holy Church was destroyed in one night. Now that I see it, I have no choice but to believe it. When Xiao Chen heard the discussions of the other cultivators in the palm print, he felt shocked as well. Soon, he thought of something. It had to be the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's remnant will. Back then, the myriad Holy Church must have discovered this forbidden land by coincidence. Then, the myriad Holy Church mobilized the entire sect to attack. Unfortunately, they did not have the Scarlet Blood War banner and could not obtain the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's acknowledgement. When the myriad Holy Church rashly attacked, they ran into the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's various backup plans and got completely wiped out. As for why this group of people managed to get here, although there were many hardships, it was because of the harsh environment in the first place. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King had not done this on purpose. Otherwise, all of them would have died. It could only be said that Xiao Chen used the Scarlet Blood War banner to open this forbidden land, allowing the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's remnant will to withdraw. After all, the Scarlet Blood Pirate King wanted to pass down his treasures, not kill every cultivator who barged into this place. Xiao Chen leaped over the palm print. Along the way, he saw all sorts of corpses. These corpses all died in special environments. They were injured by sword qi, which could only be attributed to carelessness. 7 days later, Xiaochen finally arrived at the place where the demonic clouds churned. Xiaochen felt a huge pressure as he stood at the summit of the mountain where the demonic clouds churned. The demonic clouds materialized all sorts of terrifying mysterious phenomena. There was a vast army, a flood dragon, a flaming phoenix, a centipede, or an ox head. Just looking at them made one tremble in fear. This test before Xiaochen was much stronger than the one at the entrance of the cave. This time, Xiaochen could not rely on his speed to charge over unscathed like before. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's tests came one after another. Without the corresponding strength, one would not be qualified to obtain the treasures that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King left behind. If one died, one died. There was no one to blame. Xiaochen took a deep breath. Without hesitation, he drove the Primal Chaos Veritable Essence energy in his 9-star Primal Core and charged over. Boom! The first to charge over was an ox-horned beast materialized by the demonic clouds. It roared ferociously, and black demonic flames burned on its hooves. This ox-horned beast charged at Xiaochen with a tyrannical force. Its strength was no weaker than Xishengjia's. Heaven and earth, boundless primal chaos. The 9 stars on Xiaochen's primal core flickered, and 2 streams of veritable essence energy circulated wildly, forming a formless but unbreakable Taiji force field around Xiaochen. When Xiaochen punched, the Taiji force field mixed with demonic qi, spiritual energy, and veritable essence energy exploded. The force of one punch shattered this ox-horned beast. Kill! 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 Xiaochen moved like he was flying and punched like the wind. Fighting spirit surged in his heart. He did not stop at all, charging towards the summit. Everywhere Xiaochen passed, the mountain path was littered with corpses. They were all cultivators who died under the relentless charge of the demonic clouds. There were also cultivators who persisted bitterly, making their way to the summit. Damn it! Who is this youth? He is so strong. He is really fast. Even the true inheritors of the 3 great demonic Tao sects are not as fast. To think that he is just a venerate. Damn! I really don't understand. Seeing Xiaochen pass by them, these cultivators carefully moving forward were incredibly shocked. Since when did a primal core venerate become so much stronger than them, star venerates? Halfway to the summit, Xiaochen brought out the first Saber Dao's great Dao energy. A dazzling saber light started flickering in his fist light. About 2/3 of the way, Xiaochen activated the Thunder Great Dao. Aside from the resplendent saber light, his body started flickering with a dazzling electric light. With only the final 100 meters remaining, Xiaochen activated half of his blue dragon bloodline and started to circulate his vital qi. Just like that, Xiaochen grew increasingly ferocious. As he stepped on the corpses, he did not stop at all, passing the cultivators who persisted bitterly. Xiaochen entered the surging demonic clouds. Clang! The instant Xiaochen entered the demonic clouds, he did not hesitate to draw his tyrant saber and start a boundless massacre. He fought with all sorts of mutated beasts in the demonic clouds for 3 days. Then, Xiaochen sheathed his saber. His white robes looked spotless as he passed through the demonic clouds, standing proudly. In front of him was a shocking scene. He did not know how high the sky was or how deep the ground was in this vast space. It was like he stood in the starry heavens, feeling an unimaginable vastness. As the saying went, the world was as vast as one's heart was. In the center of the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's heart, Xiaochen finally saw the true meaning of this saying. His heart was vast, boundlessly vast. It was hard to imagine that this vast space was just a corner of the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's physical body. After a huge battle, when Xiaochen saw this scene, he felt boundless shock. The legendary pirate, the Scarlet Blood Pirate King, seemed to be announcing that even if I die, you are still as insignificant as ants in my heart, insignificant. To be able to see such a scene, even if I do not obtain anything, it is worth it. As Xiao Qin stood at the edge of the cliff, he felt completely convinced. He did not feel any sense of defeat or helplessness. The vast space before Xiao Qin was not empty. There were more than 10,000 huge stone pillars in it. When Xiao Qin looked around, many of the stone pillars shone with treasure light and spiritual energy spreading out. Of course, this was accompanied by a boundless massacre and all sorts of intense battles. It looked like these stone pillars were treasure pillars. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasures were hidden in these stone pillars. The cultivators who arrived earlier had already started fighting on the stone pillars. Xiao Qin looked into the distance. A clump of flame burned on the centermost stone pillar, illuminating the surroundings. The sky was filled with the radiance of the stars, flickering with resplendent light. A faux god flame. With one glance, Xiao Qin could tell the origin of that flame. Just to be careful, Xiao Qin leaped into the air and flew towards the stone pillar closest to him. Boom! The moment Xiao Qin raised his foot and stepped into the air, he felt like lightning struck him. It was like an invisible mountain fell on his back. This was the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's lingering will. It contained boundless might and pressure, the faux god might. Great Tao energy of the divine dragon war body. Xiao Qin grunted. Enduring this pressure, he landed on the stone pillar with much difficulty and heaved a long sigh of relief. That was close. If I had not been careful and did not take big steps, I would have fallen. Thinking about this height and the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's faux god might, I would have fallen. Once I fell, I would not be able to make a comeback, shattering my bones. Whoosh! The moment Xiao Qin landed on the stone pillar, a treasure light flashed in the center of the stone pillar. Then, a pile of spirit jades appeared on the platform. Above the spirit jades was an inherited Tao tool, giving off a dazzling treasure light. An inherited Tao tool. Before Xiao Qin could make a move, he saw many figures flying over. They were all the demonic Tao experts that barged in. These people were very strong. However, when they leaped up, several of them were caught off guard. The faux god might ruthlessly push them into the deep abyss. Miserable cries echoed in this vast world, inspiring fear. Whoosh! 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 In the end, only 4 or 5 people landed on the stone pillar where Xiao Qin was. After they landed, they eagerly launched themselves at the inherited Tao tool. However, a murderous intent shot into the sky. The sword light of the inherited Tao tool pierced the bodies of the people who flew over, causing them to die with grievances. Xiao Qin had expected this long ago. A glistening golden Taiji yin-yang flame diagram appeared in front of him, blocking all the sword lights for him. Restrictions. The inherited Tao tool would definitely have restrictions left by the Scarlet Blood Pirate King. This restriction was simple and tyrannical, nothing fancy at all. It was just a strand of sword chi containing the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's will. Chapter 1817. After glancing at the 5 corpses on the stone pillar, Xiao Qian's gaze fell on the inherited Tao tool. That was a spear, a treasure that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King casually obtained when he was alive. Clearly, he did not use it. Without touching it, Xiao Qin decided to give up after comprehending it for a while. The Tyrant Saber could not compare to Xiao Qian's Tyrant Saber, so he had to take the risk to remove the restrictions. This was simply a waste of time. However, there was no need to stand on ceremony with the spirit jades below. The restrictions on the spirit jades were not strong. Xiao Qin easily took them away. With a wave of his hand, he spent hundreds of thousands of medial-grade spirit jades. Xiao! With a leap, Xiao Qin landed on the stone pillar before him. A legacy Tao artifact and a pile of spirit jades appeared in the middle of the stone pillar. Similarly, Xiao Qin only took spirit jades. He wasted no time on the restrictions of the inherited Tao tools. Looking around, one could see that many of the battles on the stone pillars were for the sake of the inherited Tao artifacts. If you want to break the restrictions, you will not only have to deal with the sword chi that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King left behind but also the sneak attacks of the other cultivators. To be honest, it was indeed a waste of time. If the inherited Dao tool left behind was stronger than the tyrant saber, it might be able to stop Xiaochen. If it wasn't as strong as the Overlord blade, there was no need to waste time on it. He took the spiritual jades and left. Compared to the others who were excited and risking their lives, they might not even be able to obtain an inherited Dao artifact. Xiaochen appeared to be much more carefree. He landed on a platform and collected the spirit stones. As more and more people passed through the demonic clouds, it was obvious that the battles on the stone pillars would become more and more intense. However, Xiaochen also discovered something else. The further in he went, the more he looked, the more he felt. The foe god might that Xiaochen received became stronger. At the start, he only needed to pay attention. Otherwise, the foe god might would not push him into the deep abyss. But gradually, even though he had the intention, every step he took was filled with trepidation. What looked like a game of hopscotch had turned into a gamble with one's life. No one could have predicted this. Xiaochen wondered how strong the foe god's might would be when he jumped to the next stone pillar. However, everyone could predict that the deeper they jumped, the more valuable the treasures on the stone pillars would be. Xiaochen, who had been collecting spirit stones, felt very moved. Now, he casually collected more than 1,000,000 spirit jades. Ah! In the vast and empty world, a cry of despair suddenly reverberated. It turned out that a martial artist had decided to continue jumping. After being struck by the foe god might, Xiaochen fell to the ground like a shot put. He executed all sorts of martial techniques, but they were all useless. The shrill screams continued for a long time before a heavy smack was heard. There was no need to look anymore. He had definitely been smashed into a pile of flesh and blood. This pressure was proportional. The foe god's might that one endured at the top of the stone pillar was fine. However, the lower one descended, the stronger the foe god's might. Up until now, no one had expected anything good to happen to them. This miserable cry echoed for a long time. Many of the cultivators who were about to jump felt a chill down their spines and hesitated. The place that seemed to be full of treasures had become a game for the brave. This was a test of one's heart and courage. One jump could separate life and death. This was especially so when one fell to their death. No cultivator would be willing to die in such a sullen manner. Naturally, Xiaochen was not willing either. Whoosh! 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 Wind howled from behind. 4 or 5 people descended to the top of the stone pillar where Xiaochen was. All of them were middle-stage star venerate old men. Some were demonic Dao loose cultivators, and some were the upper echelon of 7-star pirate ships. As they looked at Xiaochen, they all showed hostile expressions. Xiaochen did not want to fight with them. He gently pushed off with his feet and stepped forward. I'll send you off. Who knew? Someone behind suddenly attacked. The instant Xiaochen jumped, that person laughed coldly and threw a palm strike. This prompted the others to follow suit. Several attacks immediately flew at Xiaochen. Xiaochen cursed in his heart. However, he could not turn back now. At this critical moment of life and death, Xiaochen could not afford to overthink. He had to face the strengthened foe god might and these killing moves later. He could not afford to get distracted at all. Before the huge pressure, Xiaochen executed Thunder Dragon steps to its limits. The two Dao might merged and did their best to neutralize the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's foe god might. Xiaochen moved like lightning, quickly changing positions several times in the time it took for a spark to fly. Xiaochen narrowly dodged all the attacks of these old fogies. However, when he landed, he had already charged past several stone pillars and arrived before a stone pillar that Xiaochen had not planned for. What a fellow! To think that he did not die. This youth is not simple. Hee hee. This is a good opportunity to test his limits. Otherwise, he would have purposely left. When we fought ferociously and were caught off guard, we would have fallen for his trap. It is good to chase him away. Seeing Xiao Chen avoid several stone pillars and go far away, the people who attacked were startled. What a strong treasure light! There are still people on it. The distant Xiao Chen showed a slightly startled expression. He discovered that there were already 3 people on the stone pillar. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen needed to climb the stone pillar. He could not hesitate at all. Steeling himself, Xiao Chen landed on it. He saw a white mask hovering in the center of the stone pillar. It looked exquisite and smooth, like porcelain. Black demonic qi wafted around the mask. The demonic qi was so dense that it looked like silk. Ancient black scriptures were written on the mask, looking exceptionally strange. This is a soul tool. Xiao Chen's heart trembled, and he showed a slightly excited expression. Soul tools were also known as soul tools. Normally, only rank 6 sects were qualified to possess soul tools. As the name suggested, soul tools were treasures that were forbidden from being used during normal times for various reasons. Once used, it would shake the world and turn the tide. This soul tool before Xiao Chen was somewhat special. It did not look like an ordinary soul tool but a mask. Mask-type secret treasures were rare in the first place. A soul tool mask would be even more attention-grabbing. Forging a soul tool was extremely difficult. To think that Xiao Chen wasted so many resources just to forge a mask. Xiao Chen had to admit that this was somewhat willful. The owner of this mask must have looked down on everyone when he was alive. He must have been a powerful overlord. The owner of this mask must have had countless rare resources. Otherwise, he would not have casually used them to forge a mask. Compared to the mask, secret treasures like sabers, swords, cauldrons, and bells were clearly more valuable. However, that was not certain. This was Xiao Chen's first time seeing a secret treasure. His thoughts ran wild, causing him to short-circuit. Hee. Young man, this is a soul tool. What do you think? It is beautiful, right? 3 people stood in each corner of the stone pillar's platform. The one who spoke was a somewhat plump, middle-aged man. He smiled at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen sensed for a while, and his heart sank slightly. This time, he had really jumped into a wolf's den. These 3 were peak late-stage star venerates. Their auras were exceptionally deep and distant. With one look, it was clear that they had been at this cultivation realm for a long time. Every one of them could be said to be unrivaled among star venerates. Unless a holy venerate appeared, it would be hard to suppress them. Aside from the middle-aged fatso, the other 2 were a pretty woman of indeterminate age and a cold, black-clad swordsman. The pretty woman looked at Xiao Chen and smiled charmingly. What a handsome junior. Come to elder sister's side. Elder sister will explain to you what a soul tool is. The pretty woman smiled faintly, looking very charming. It was like thousands of flowers bloomed in Xiao Chen's heart, giving him a favorable impression out of nowhere. Charm technique? This is child's play. Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. However, he did not know what to do about it. He seemed to have entered a situation that could erupt at any moment. Clearly, these 3 had been at a stalemate for a long time. None of them were confident of winning. Seeing Xiao Chen arrive, the eyes of the middle-aged fatso and the pretty woman lit up. They thought to themselves, here comes a stepping stone. The middle-aged fatso smiled and said, little brother, you must not go over. This flower beauty is the famous venomous widow. If the men who died under her skirt were piled up, they would be taller than this pillar. Ha ha ha. Damn you, fatso. How dare you expose this old lady's secret? Ha! Do you still need someone to expose your secret? You are already an old monster that has lived for several hundred years. You are really shameless to try to seduce this junior. So, little brother, come to my side. As the saying goes, fat people are kind at heart. This is definitely true. The middle-aged fatso's words were very vicious, angering the pretty woman so much that she wished she could kill him immediately. At the same time, the pretty woman giggled and invited Xiao Chen to stand with her. Cassier. However, the cold swordsman did not say anything. He only drew his sword by 1 centimeter. A strand of resplendent and dazzling sword light instantly landed at Xiao Chen's feet, leaving a deep sword mark on this ancient stone pillar. Clearly, this was a threat to Xiao Chen, telling him not to move and not to go to any side. Xiao Chen lowered his head and looked at the sword light at his feet. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. I will not pick a side." Whoosh! However, right after Xiao Chen spoke, he stretched out his hand and pulled the soul treasure over.